For the record, my child does not watch Tarantino movies. Just so everyone knows.
I feel like you would put them on and force her to watch them.
No, man, that's messed up. But we did make her watch The Parent Trap, the Lindsay Lohan version, and she was like super against it and didn't want to watch it, and now she loves it. Because that's what we watched when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So we're like, you haven't seen The Parent Trap? She's like, no, what's that?
Go change that today.
Yeah, now she's hooked. So, anyways, this is THP number 188. I am Justin Smith of Palmetto Exotics. As always, I am joined by Mr. Jacob Bratz of Long Toe Reptilia.
Well, I can't introduce myself. That's what we're doing now, and I'm Long Toe.
Okay.
Wow. Whatever. I guess the less I talk,
well,
the better,
what you
right?
got? Okay.
Oh no, you got it, man. We're
okay.
Good. Rolling.
Yep. Jacob Bratz of Longleaf Reptilia. This episode is brought to you by BlackBoxCages.com. We need to plan our great voyage up there.
Yeah, I've been wondering.
I'm
when
itching.
we're gonna do that.
Yeah, we gotta get that figured out. I guess it'll be nice this round because it won't be
snowing. Yeah,
it won't be snowing.
Yeah.
I don't know about what it's like up there, but it's starting to. So it's been hot here, and then it's supposed to cool down again tomorrow and this weekend, I think, which sucks because I was really hoping we could hit Donnelly on like Saturday or something. But I don't know what the weather's supposed to be like if it's supposed to still suck. So
yeah, unfortunately, because this weekend would have been great for it. It might heat up enough though to get them out, get some stuff out Sunday.
If we get there and they're still cold, they can't run from us.
Logic.
Everyone might be. I'm playing chess while they're playing checkers.
I was actually
the snakes can't run if they're frozen.
That's right. I was actually out there last Sunday. Me and my girlfriend went for a drive.
Oh, I was about to say, fool, you didn't even tell me you were going.
No, we just did like a quick ride around on the thing. We went on a little walk down one of the trails. It wasn't one of my personal snake trails, but yeah.
Dude, that's a place where you could spend like an entire day out just.
And you wouldn't even touch it. Man.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's so big. It's so vast. Like it's endless. Although I did see a path that I really want us to go down. It's in like the middle of a bunch of longleaf pines.
Is it a dark one?
Yeah.
I hope not.
Nice and dark. No, it's pretty open forest. It's like a longleaf forest. But I saw a path that like just shot down in the middle of it, and I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah, man, like when we were there last, like the first time that I went out there with you, I couldn't help but just look at it like it was somewhere more exotic than South Carolina. Like there's like I just think about it in terms of like that's the kind of stuff that I'm sure people in like guys like Nipper and our buddies in Australia and stuff probably see that and they're like, man, that would be so cool. Like I've talked about it a little bit and I don't know. I look at like native stuff, be it habitat or species now through a much different lens than I used to where now I have a much better appreciation because it's like our stuff is very cool.
Yeah, it is.
And just because we might see it on a regular basis, like you think about the fact that there's someone somewhere that would absolutely kill to be in that position, like the garters that I found. It's like I haven't seen a garter in a long time, like a good-looking one at least.
Right.
And I just remember sitting there staring at it, being like I wasn't like over the moon about it or anything, but I was like, that was a nice little find because I just hadn't seen one in a while, and it was like, man, I bet you there's some guy over in like Austria or something that's all about some garters and would just that brief moment would be like highlight of a trip for them. And I don't know, like,
and I think corns are a perfect one for that, because corns are some of the most beautiful snakes in the world, and then people from out of the country who can never see them, I can only imagine seeing one, in the wild would be just incredible. I remember the first corn snake I found was freaking awesome.
I'm sure it's like ball pythons. Like the people that are catching ball pythons and shipping them over here are probably like, yeah, more of these things. But think of how many people.
I would lose my mind.
Love to go over there and just see like something you'd see every day in PetSmart. Just to go when you're going and getting crickets, something you walk by daily, and then there's just something about seeing it outside of the box. You know, that's just like
it's different, man.
It is. And you know what's funny is I went and flipped that tin again. What was it? What's today? I think it was Monday. Because I went by to check on top off stuff because I have the ASFs now, and so I wanted to make sure that they see what rate they were eating and stuff at, so I could kind of make sure I stay on top of them because I don't know if they eat more,
eating each other.
Yeah, or eating each other. And I went and flipped the tin because the weather was really good, and I was like, I went and looked, and that same female garter was under the tin, and right next to her was a little male right next to her, and then that same racer was under the tin again. So like 2 of the same snakes that I've seen the last 2 weeks in a row, and then a third one. We're all hanging out under this tin together, and I was kind of surprised. He was like, "Buddy, that racer would eat you in a heartbeat."
Wait, they were under there together. They were under there together.
So there's 3 stacks, 3 sheets. You know, I lifted the top sheet, racer, lifted the sheet under that, garters. But I was like, that male garter was small, and I was like, buddy, that racer will have his way with you.
Yeah. That's really cool.
The female took off. You know, the racer just kind of like went between the sheets as it was standing up, and like, but yeah, it was that same female garter because same size, same color. Kind of damaged tail a little bit, and then that racer had to be the same one because it was like the exact same size.
Yeah.
So
that's cool, man. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
I don't. Okay. All right. Thank you. Where is your mother?
Yeah, no, man. I've got the itch bad for some field stuff, man. I was really hoping when me and Kayla went out the other week that we'd find something just on the road or walking around. But, you know, we saw a ton of gators, man. I'm talking a ton, that's always cool. I love seeing gators, man. I saw one that they had the water drained out of one, and it was in water, but it was really muddy, and it was like walking through this half water, half mud, and it just looked really cool.
Neighbor saw a coral the other day.
I saw you saying something about that.
Oh man. And then there's someone on Instagram, I guess, that lives in our area. I don't know if it's down here up in Charleston, but they were in Beaufort, and they post on Instagram a coral they found. And I messaged them.
Comes to Beaufort one time.
Yeah, and I was like, I messaged them asking, you know, where at in Beaufort were you? Because like I'm on Ladies Island, and these things are everywhere. I just never see a live one, and I never got a response. I don't think it's even been read yet. But yeah, neighbor saw one at like 12:30 in the afternoon. And so I think that was the same day that I went and checked on mice after work, flipped that tin, saw that stuff, and I was like, I can feel it. Today's going to be the day that I find that damn coral. So I went to that same neighbor's property and poked around with their permission. Saw nothing. I saw a box turtle, though.
That was cool.
Just happened to look down, and there was a little box turtle. I think it was a male. Haven't seen one of those in a while, too, so I picked it up and accosted it for a little bit, and then it of course boxed up, and I sat there for a few minutes hoping maybe it would go back to doing whatever it was doing before I found it, and it didn't. It just stayed closed up and didn't move. I was like, okay,
it's so funny. You can watch them for a while, and they'll kind of just like open it just barely so they can see out of it, and then they see you're still there, and they'll close a little bit more and be like, I'm gonna wait till you leave.
Yeah, this one was having none of it. He's like, I'm waiting until you're gone. So
those are so cool, man. They are such underrated little turtles.
We have some screamers here.
So variable. Now I found one that was almost like black. Like
I saw one
dark.
A couple years ago here on Ladies Island. I saw one actually over by that Parker's on Sam's Point as I was going towards Sunset to head to work, and that thing was highlighter orange like all over. I mean, just like it looked like a freaking traffic cone.
Yeah.
And I moved it off the road because, you know, it was in the process of crossing, and I was like, it hit the curb. And so I was like, here, dude, you know, helped it over.
Yeah.
And there's a ton of variation there, and
they're super cool.
They are really good looking turtles. So
that's awesome.
What's new with you?
pairing up Colubrids, man. I thought I may have had a gravid carpet, but now I'm starting to wonder if she actually is. She's still being kind of weird. She refused to quail the other day, so that kind of made me be like, maybe. But she's not looking super huge. She's kind of been looking at her nesting box a little bit, but nothing crazy. So I don't know. I may put the males back in with them and just see what happens. Pairing up Pituophis, I've got literally, I'm looking at them right now. My albino Florida pines are together. My fork line gophers are together, and then my.
You see any action from them yet?
I saw good signs. They both it seems like whenever I first put them in, they'll kind of touch and they'll both start doing that little twitch thing, and then they kind of start to freak out. But the female was doing that like tail wag deal and kind of lifting it up a little bit. And so I'm hopeful.
That's a good sign.
Yeah, and they seem a little bit more movie today. They're moving around a lot, but Pituophis are very aggressive breeders. So I had to take the water dishes out for both of them because they just go kind of crazy at first. So they've calmed down a little bit, but I'm waiting to actually see some locks. I'll be the first one to tell you. Just because you don't see locks doesn't mean it didn't happen. So I don't know. The fork lines kind of took better because today was their first pairing, or the first time I paired them. This is like the third time I paired the albinos. And they seem to have taken a little bit better. The female came out of her humid hide, and they were all prancing around in the tub. So curious to see what happens with them. I was honestly worried the female was going to try and bite the male or something, man. She's a freaking sociopath. But no, she was fine. Not even a hiss from her. They seem to be getting along. Let's see what they're doing right now. They're not locked up, but they're laying together. So I guess that's a good sign.
That's good.
So we'll see, man. I'm actually like my albino Floridas are definitely like my top most excited pairing this year. I really, really want to make some albino Floridas. That would be awesome. But I'm actually also really excited about the forks because
I've had those for a while. Like
I've raised those since they were babies, like little things. And female's been a psycho since day one. They actually were both really bad. The males calmed down a good bit. But if you know anybody who knows about the fork line, so there's like high and low expression of forks, and these are considered like low base expression fork lines. But you have like medium expression, then high expression. And so like these could make medium and high expression forks, and essentially you just get less and less pattern with them. I think the higher extreme patterns are basically patternless. So I'm really curious if they go, what could come of it. And the male is just an absolute screamer of an animal. So I'm pretty excited about that. And like I said, the gray rats, obviously super stoked about those. They've been cuddling up a lot. So really hope those go. Other than that, I'm trying to move out quite a few animals, actually. I've got...
What up with them buckskins, boy?
Paint shop's taking them.
Damn.
Yeah, I'm sorry, buddy. I owe him forwards, backwards, and frontwards. So I was like, hey, man, you want these? So buckskins are going to the paint shop. I've got a pair of Everglades and that Hernando County corn and a Pituophis going to Bill Bradley. I've got a pair of yellows. You remember those South Florida yellows I got in Daytona?
No.
Well, I got a pair of South Florida yellows. It's the one, but I got a trio and I lost the female. She's AY.
Not Rico.
Not Rico. No. That was 2 years ago. Last Daytona. I got it from Tony D. Yes. They came from wild caught female, and they were captive hatched. I'm sending those out to my buddy Brendan, that I've been talking to for a while. So I'm sending those out to him. Then I got a few other things to move along. If anybody wants some San Diego gophers, hit me up. Probably gonna send those out. A few other odds and ends, maybe a couple carpets, a couple more Colubrids. Just looking to slim down a little bit with the second job and life. It's gotten beyond hectic, and thought I'd be able to manage, but it's not going too hot. So I need to cut back a little bit, not because I want to, because I need to. Life is such. So if anybody's interested in anything, hit me up. Might move a couple carpets depending on who they go to. A couple more Colubrids. I think it's only going to be one pitch you off is pairing the San Diego. So if anybody's interested in those, hit me up. Yeah, that's about it for me. A lot going on and a lot of moving parts and working my ass off. So
yeah, I feel you.
What about with you, buddy? What's going
on? Ghost Tester, a female, is gravid as hell.
No shit, really?
So that pied blood red male, I never saw a lock from him. Ooh. They were cuddled up constantly, so I figured he got the job done. I know last year when I put him with that pied blood red female, he wasted no time, so I didn't have any doubt that he would struggle this year either.
And the ghost tester are being proven. I mean,
yeah.
That was almost a no-brainer. So what is it? I know this might be a dumb question because I don't know corns. What's the potential there? Because there's a lot of recessive traits in that pairing, is there not?
Yeah, so they'd be het, ghost,
and pied.
The pied thing is weird because the pied, it's you get, so if you breed pieds together, you get more pieds, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they'll be more pied than the parents. Like you get varying levels of it. It's a little confusing and it's strange, but basically the pied-sided thing doesn't necessarily play by the rules of other genes. So I'm honestly not entirely sure where that's going to fall in line.
Well, that's almost exciting then.
Yeah. And basically because I lost that female, I did this pairing to preserve that bloodline of his, to some degree as best as I can. So I'm gonna end up holding on to, at least 2 pairs probably of stuff from that clutch, depending on what I get, and assuming everything goes okay. I actually need to turn the incubator on and get that ready because I'd like to have that dialed in and ready to go ahead of time.
So why don't you just take them in your snake room?
What, the eggs?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just like the more consistent temperatures of things, and I don't have to worry about me trying to pick something up off the top shelf and dropping it like an idiot.
Yeah.
Which is kind of my biggest concern is accidentally dropping a whole clutch of eggs because I had to have them up high somewhere. And
yeah, I hear
you. Because I know it'll happen. So if they're in the incubator, I can just take the flashlight and shine on them through the door and not have to worry about it.
Yeah, I only ask because a lot of people who do Colubrids and keep their room at ambient higher, everybody's like, "Oh, just stick them in the top shelf in the room."
I don't know. I like having them in a controlled space.
Yeah, I'll incubate mine as well, as long as I don't have python eggs in there. If I have python eggs in there, then it might be a different story. Because the python eggs need to be incubated a little higher. But if I don't end up getting any carpets this year, then they'll definitely be going in the pager.
So yeah, that girl's definitely gravid. The original Ladies Island female that I paired with the Castagna Motley, she feels gravid. She doesn't feel as far along as the ghost girl is. I need to palpate her again this weekend and see if it's if she's feeling more so than she was last week. So that looks good. And then the Baird's, the hypo Loma to the hypo male to the Loma alta female, feels like there might be something going on there. So we'll see. That male's a really aggressive breeder too. So I'm confident.
Dude, he is so good looking, dude. Oh my God. Like, I think those Bairds, like, as far as albinos go, they are just insane, man. They're so pretty.
Yeah, he's proven himself a workhorse as well. So
yeah.
Put rhinos together. The male's been trying like hell. The female has not been giving it up, but again, haven't seen any locks of any like definite happening. So just kind of giving those time, and I've contemplated whether or not I want to do the Diones again this year or not. Right now, I'm more so worried about the female eating the male because I feel like
after that fiasco,
feel like I can't feed her enough, and if she sees that male, he's gonna be toast because she's way bigger than him. So I don't know. I may take the year off from those. I was planning on taking it easy this year. So I was gonna pair something to that Beaufort County corn,
the Shell Point one.
Yeah, that is officially a male. Thought it was
oh, that's right.
Years, it is a male.
Yeah, that's right.
So
did you probe him?
No, well, I did probe male, but the sheds kept looking female consistently.
Yeah.
And so finally, I was like, okay, I had a Loctite, a Ziploc tub, and I was like, I'm gonna put a male in here, see what happens with this thing. I'm gonna put a female in here with this thing, see what happens. And this was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And whether it was a male or female, I really got no reaction. I think I got more of a reaction from the smaller male that I put in with it, wondering, to see if it was a female. And it wasn't a breeding reaction. It was more like a, oh shit, that's a bigger male kind of thing, where that smaller male like immediately just like tried to go to the other direction. But then it shed, and so I took that original Ladies Island female. So I took something that I knew was proven, put it in there, and then put him in there. And I'll be damned if he didn't immediately try to go for it. And so I pulled him before he got anywhere close to a lock, but that's definitely a male.
Damn.
So super male heavy on the adult corn side of things until next year. So,
well, it's not a terrible problem to have. You got options.
Yeah, I mean, if it was a female, then it was going to be one of those things where it's like I was going to probably pair that Castagna Motley male up with that one too, or something. But guess that made that decision easy.
Yeah.
But before we got derailed with that, blackboxcages.com, check them out, Facebook, Instagram. Use the code THN at checkout, save yourself a little bit of money, and then head over to stevesnatuary.com and get yourself the whole lineup of Venom hot sauce. Give it a shot. Copperhead, coral snake, canebrake, pygmy. Try them all. Cottonmouth is where it's at.
Absolutely.
We are here this week to talk about some feeders and other fun stuff. This week we are joined by Louis Batohie. He is you're in Texas, correct?
Yes, sir. That's correct. How's it going, guys?
Nice.
Right here, man.
That explains the extensive collection of Texas stuff.
There you go.
What part of Texas are you in, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm in San Antonio.
San Antonio, nice. I've been there a couple times. Yeah. I lived in Corpus Christi for a period, and we went to San Antonio a few times. So.
Corpus people. Okay.
Yeah, no, I don't. It's not. I don't claim Corpus Christi.
Why do you say it like that?
I love Corpus because Chris lives there. That's the only reason I love Corpus.
It's spelled Kristi. Corpus Christi.
Yeah, Chris T. Yeah, no, I hated living there. Don't get me wrong, I hated that place. But
it's fun to visit. I wouldn't live there personally.
It was cool. It was okay, but I'm just not a city kind of guy. I can't do the traffic.
Every time I think of San Antonio, I think of Phil when we were leaving Texas. So he had to wait longer for his flight, I think, to leave. He was like one of the last one of the group leaving Texas to go back home. And he's had time to kill. And I didn't have as much time to kill. And he's like, dude, let's go to the Alamo and check it out.
I've been to
the Alamo. I was like, no, man, I ain't missing my flight. Like over the Alamo, especially. Like I'm sorry. Like I'll sit in this airport for 3 hours before I leave to go to downtown San Antonio or something to adventure, and then to find out I'm gonna miss my flight. Like,
yeah,
said go for it. So he took an Uber over there or something, and he was like super gung ho about seeing it too. And he either texted me or called me. He's like, "There's like a line wrapped around the building to get in," and then he's like, "And I could see it from the street. It was like covered in like black mold."
Oh,
like he was just like appalled at the whole thing. He's like, and it's way smaller than I thought it was. So he never even got to like go actually see it. He saw it from like a distance, and he's like, dude, it was packed. He's like, it looked kind of gross. Like, he's like, I didn't even go. So I thought that was, every time I think of San Antonio, I think it Phil's disappointment with the Alamo.
I think that's many people's when you take them down there. You live here long enough. That's a place everybody wants to go see. You go down there.
Well, the weirdest thing too is he told me, because I thought it was like out somewhere.
Yes.
It's in like the dead middle of downtown San Antonio.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's like, dude, it's like 5 miles away. I was like, are you serious? I was like, where? He's like, I don't know, somewhere in the city.
I thought this was like the desert or something.
Yeah, I thought it was literally like a historic monument somewhere that they, was tucked away outside the city limits or something. He's like, no, dude, it's like Central Park of San Antonio. It's right there.
Yeah. I went to the Alamo, and I think I didn't have any like expectations of it. My mom and dad came visit me while I was out there, and my dad was stationed in San Antonio for a little bit while he was in the military, and he wanted to go to the Alamo, so we went, and we had a good time and stuff. But I didn't have any expectations for it, so it was fine.
It looked good from the airport. So.
Yeah.
I don't know, dude. That was my first time like really being somewhere I was completely unfamiliar with, and I was like, I ain't leaving this airport. Dude, I don't know where I'm going.
San Antonio is cool, man. For a place, if you can go explore, just like a city.
I want to go to the
Texas. Zoo. Yeah, dude. I went to Lewis. I'm sure you know about the New Braunfels Serpentarium or whatever it's called.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yeah, I went there. That place is freaking wicked. They got, some questionable care activities, but it was overall a pretty cool place. It's
been a long time since I've been there.
It's been a long time since I was there too. So I lived there in 2016, and I think I went there at some point during that time period.
Yeah, I think I would. The last time I'd have been there would have been little kid.
Oh wow! So it's been a long time.
Yeah, so we're talking like probably 2008, something like that.
Oh, I got you. Yeah. Yeah, that was a cool place. I enjoyed that. But
yeah, what was your sort of getting into herps? We give people the option of giving us the abridged version or the Cliff Notes version. Maybe those mean the same things. I don't know what abridged fully means. So
tell us as little or as much as you want.
All right, well, we'll see how it comes out. One of my earliest memories of a snake was walking around the apartment in Conroe, Texas, and flipping a rock and seeing a coral snake under that, and then and then just be a little kid, just putting the rock back and being like, whoa, okay, and then after that, just something I was interested in but didn't follow up with it too much. And then I got older, moved to San Antonio, went into a local pet shop, and walked in there and just fell in love with a hairless rat. That's how it started. And then going in there to get the animal food and stuff like that, and then just kind of seeing the snakes. The first thing I ever wanted was a Florida king snake. Was the first thing I ever saw that really caught my eye.
So I fed my hairless rat to my snake.
No, it took me a while to talk my mom into letting me get one, but once that happened, that the floodgates opened, and so I ended up starting off with a snow corn snake, and then some normal ball pythons, and then het albino stuff, and then I ended up volunteering at that pet store, and I was there for 8 years and really just learned a lot. It was actually 10 years I was there altogether. So that was started there when I was 8, and left when I was 18.
Nice.
See, that's something I've gone back and forth. Like even my wife, like I've been like, I get these weird sort of, I have these random moments where I'm like, I'm gonna go for the like reptile zoo thing. I'm gonna open a serpentarium,
dude.
I'm gonna breed full. I'm gonna breed full time.
I want to do it so bad.
And Katie is like, you can't, like, you'd go crazy. Like, the people would drive you crazy. And I don't know if they would or wouldn't in terms of, like, well, like a serpentarium, like, there'd be people walking through, like, knocking on the glass and, like, doing shit they're not supposed to. And, like,
I'll handle all that.
I don't know.
I'll deal with all those people.
I see myself handling it really well and being over it very quickly. But was that, did you experience that in your pet store time?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where I think we always have to kind of remember that what we know isn't what the average person knows walking in. And so you have to treat every situation like that. It can be difficult sometimes, but you know, at the end of it, when you have someone walking out or after you get done talking to somebody, and it's like, oh, they get it. That's pretty rewarding, but definitely something that I have found harder to do as time goes on.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it's just, it's stuff that you would think is kind of like common sense. Like, hey, if you go banging on the glass cage, like, the animal's going to freak out a little bit and probably not like it.
My only thing with that now is, like, I feel like, you know, it goes back to when, like, we were kids and Finding Nemo came out and that little kid was pounding on the glass, you know, of the aquarium. And I feel like that's more nowadays since people
Was
are.
her name Darla?
Yeah, I think that was exactly what her name was. I think that, though, is more like a little kid. I'm not going to say adults don't do it. I'm saying I think nowadays it's mostly little kids that do that type of thing, you know, because I think it's pretty much well known to adults, you know, anything about animals in general, that you don't tap the glass, you know. But, you know, maybe I could be.
I'm sure zookeepers would disagree with that.
You're probably very right.
It's crazy. Yeah.
That'd be a really tough one, especially when you're dealing with species like, you know, the Riverbank Zoo has Bolins.
Oh God!
And it's like, for the love of God, you don't have to put your flashlight on to look inside the glass.
Stop.
Like, come on.
But then those will be the ones that breed, and it's like, oh,
right.
They need to be harassed with flashlights 3 times a day.
Yeah, I harass my snakes every day. It makes them breed. Oh man!
So, what's your current collection, and sort of how has that evolved since you're, you know, getting into the
your early days?
Balls and
yeah. So when I was younger, I think I did the thing that everybody does, which is the Noah's Ark thing of one of everything, you know, and just, you know, lost interest over time with that, where you have too much stuff and then you're working at a pet shop. It gets too much after a while. And so, but yeah, I kept Baird's rat snakes back then. I kept mainly corn snakes and ball pythons. I kept, you know, reticulated pythons. I kept box turtles, a little bit of everything back then. Anything that was cool or pop up on a list, I would keep. Red sulcatas for years when I was a kid.
Nice.
But yeah, and then now getting back into it as an adult, it's been a lot more fun because it's been very focused. I really enjoy that aspect of it, where it's you know, just a lot of the same thing.
Yeah, I noticed a lot of alterna. I saw some Bairds, and then I think I saw some Pituophis. And is that sort of the general focus now? You know, I saw subocs too, which was.
Yeah, my main focus is going to be alterna and then suboc in that order. The Bairds, I have 2 males. I have a Comstock and a Juno Road.
Nice.
And so, but you know, those are so cool. Just getting to see the change over time, and that was something that it's fun kind of seeing you pick up the ball and keep people entertained about them. Because when I was a kid, it's such a cool snake, but it was impossible to sell to people because they look at it and it looks like a corn snake, you know. And it's like, well, I could get this, you know, albino corn snake or this thing, which those are cool, but it's gonna look like a warship, you know, when it gets older, with this crazy
covered in lava.
Yeah, you know, especially when you see, you know, what Tim over at Vivid's doing, where it's seeing those was mind blowing as a kid, you know.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's I still have days where I'll like take mine out because the lighting will be good in the morning, and that's when I'll take pictures outside or reels or something before I go to work. And it's like, you get them outside, man, and it's like that gunmetal and then just that fire orange right at the base of all those scales and stuff. It's just like, God, these things are nice.
Yeah,
and just when I think like I'm kind of like, I'm good on Bairds, like I pull those out and I'm like, no, no.
Yeah, no, my first female, she was that. Looking back, I didn't appreciate it at the time, but just how pretty she was, and she was a 68-inch snake. She was massive, and it was like it was a very cool snake.
A Baird's?
Yeah.
Bairds are like, they're not a big rat snake, but they're a long rat snake.
68 inches? Holy shit. That's huge. That's like yellow rat size, man. That's massive.
Yeah, she was a monster. I wish I still had pictures of her. It was so long ago.
Wow. That's
where'd your Juneau Road come from?
Juneau Road.
Okay.
Duh.
I got mine from Brandon McWilliams, and those things are starting to have some of that orange come in, and it's like, oh my God! Like I thought it had nose rub, just like the first pair of low mountas I got. That orange started coming in on the face, and I'm like, are you rubbing the shit out of your nose? Like what the hell? And then I look and I'm like, oh no, it's just on fire because of all the orange that you've got coming in.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, when I first found, in particular, the Juneau Road one, I thought it was going to end up being a real dog, but it's really turned out to be a really nice looking animal.
Nice.
Yeah, I got to get back out there, man. We didn't see much, but
dude, I want to go to Texas and herp so bad, man. I want to go.
It's the most fun. That is, I think, the thing I enjoy the most now about keeping is getting to go out there and go field herping. It's completely changed the way I do everything.
It really will, man. The more you get into it, the more like you want to reenact that in your enclosures. Mm-hmm. Just because you can see them, and like you see them in a completely different light when you see them in the wild. And how they act and the different random places that you find them, it's like, I want to give you this.
Well, a lot of it too, especially when you're dealing with stuff like that, it's easier to replicate, Southwest Texas in terms of that. If you're setting up a cage or something like that to mimic that, I think it's easier to do that than it is to, try and replicate as best you can, like
a pine forest,
New Guinea highlands, or something like that.
Yeah, and it's like for me, there's the routes of going like naturalistic, of like, okay, get as close as you can with fake plants and sticks and wood and all that. And then there's the route of doing what they do at Blodgett, Mr. Blodgett.
Yeah.
Yeah, going what he does and going with Roy, going with, I can't remember, I don't know why I blanked on his first name. Roy, what he does with like going as far as like getting plants from that region and, all that, which I think that's awesome, but, there's two different routes you can go with that naturalistic stuff. And I think either one is definitely, acceptable and can make awesome enclosures doing it. So.
Yeah, I think one thing that really stood out to me was just kind of looking at the body shape and the conditioning of the animals that you see.
Yeah.
It's so different than what you see in the average collection,
Yeah, they're not fat.
No.
Imagine that.
They're not, and when you can sit there and, I've got to watch a, big male suboc chase a kangaroo rat, and it's like, you're watching it just haul ass chasing this animal, and it's like, okay, they're working for their meal.
No, it makes sense.
So
you mean to tell me they weren't getting tong fed frozen thawed lab rats? That's what you're telling me right now?
That it seems so.
No, man, and that's why that's why I honestly tong feed. Like I do the whole like run around, like do come grab it, type of thing, because I don't want to feed live. It's just not my thing. I don't enjoy it, and I know they can hurt the snakes. So I do try and do a little chase in the process. But
yeah, I think there's a lot of value in that, and trying to keep them toned somewhat, doing something, that you just, even if you built a really crazy cage, are they still going to get that same type of movement that they would in the wild? They're probably not, and obviously they do okay, but we could definitely feed less, I think.
Yeah, feed less, smaller items, because that's one thing that I like try and preach to a lot of people is like, I think smaller items more often is better for most colubrids, even multiple small items, especially things like, Pituophis, because they're nest raiders. They go underground and they eat up, as many babies as they can get their mouths around, and they eat that in a sitting, then, so long later, they'll do it again, that's usually the case. Obviously I don't know Pituophis in the wild. I don't know if they eat all the time, but I think changing up food, going from, a lot of small items to one big item to a couple medium-sized items, that's a good way to just kind of change it up, man.
For sure. But, yeah, and that's like with my alterna and all my collection, I'll switch in where I'll do quail and stuff like that with them. Yeah. And it's funny, I really thought the suboc would really go for it and be really into quail, but I had a little bit more hesitation with them than I did my alterna, where the alterna were like, they were nailing them.
Mm-hmm. That just kind of surprised me a little bit.
And it just made me think, when you're out walking cuts, you pretty often come up on birds sleeping on the cuts. And I wonder, I'm sure if this snake comes across, a sleeping bird, why would it not, try that? So, I think that's where we're seeing that.
Yeah, no doubt. I thought about trying to switch up to some quail on my pits. I keep quite a few Pituophis, especially my bigger stuff. I've really thought about trying to offer some quail to them and just see how they take to it.
Yeah, I've had no problem with that. Them taking that. I haven't tried it with my Deppy yet, but
oh, you have Deppy?
Yeah, I have. From Vivid, I have the summer and winter line that he's working with.
Dude, that's awesome. I love, that's definitely one of my cornerstone pieces that I want to, or I say pieces, one of my cornerstone snakes that I want to get eventually. I have Janai. I have 4 Janai right now.
How's Jared?
He's great. He's like a freaking monster. That's gonna be dude. You're gonna be sad when he becomes an adult, because he's gonna be a really, really good looking animal. He's gonna be a smoke show. So I am more than happy to have him. But I love, dude. Me and Chris geek about Mexican pines all the time. They're such
those and awesome animals. Those northerns and the kanks, I think, are probably my favorites as far as pits go.
Yeah, kanks are cool. I don't know if I'm going to end up getting those. I think that those have kind of fallen off for me because I have enough that are going to get really big. So I think I'm happy with the group that I have, between the albino Floridas, the fork lines, the northerns and the blacks and the Claybergs.
I wouldn't mind a pair when I have more space eventually.
Yeah, they're cool, but man, they eat they eat so much.
It is incredible how fast pits burn through food.
Dude, I'm telling you, man, those northerns and the blacks that Chris sent me, they're already on small adult mice.
I believe it.
It's crazy. They started on, hoppers, and then hoppers became too small really fast. And so I upped them recently, and they're just exploding. And they're awesome. I love them to death. My black pines hate every ounce of me, but they're
I think that's just part of the name. That's why they're black. They're just full of hatred. Their souls are black.
Satan snakes.
Are you as far as the alterna go? Are you focused on any locality in particular with those, or?
There's a few things I've been working on. There was the Davis Mountain pair that I was trying with for a very long time, and last year had a good clutch come out of them, and that was pretty impressive. This year, I've not paired anything up this year. I'm probably gonna lay off this year and resume again next year. And then there's a few like Sanderson localities that I would like to see come to fruition. And then I found a Glass Mountains male last year that would be cool to try to pair up. So
I do miss them. They were fun snakes to have. I feel like it's so much easier to breed and like not breed, but handle getting babies started out there where you have access to, the different lizard species and stuff that they're more likely to entertain eating than we do here.
Yeah, I have a whole routine that I run through, and so far it's been pretty good for me. And one of the things that I'll use that I was surprised it worked as well as it did, because I caught lizards in the areas where I was finding, these snakes, and no interest. I've tried bearded dragons. Don't try live baby bearded dragons. They fight back more than what you'd expect.
I was not expecting you to say that.
Yeah, no, they have legit teeth.
Baby bearded dragons. Oh my God. I don't think I've ever.
I don't know. That still seems like a pretty big meal for a baby alterna.
I don't think I've ever talked to anybody that said they tried baby bearded dragons.
Well, these were hatchlings right out of the egg, and
wow,
with some a little bit bigger stuff, just trying to get it to eat, and no, it didn't go for it. But Mediterranean geckos have really been something that worked really well for me.
I'm wondering. I don't know if I tried Turks or not. We have those here. Like those are not hard to find here.
You tried scenting them. I don't think you tried a straight gecko.
Yeah.
Feeding a whole prey item like that's always my last ditch effort. What I usually do when I have hatchlings I'm trying to get to eat is the first thing I'll offer is a frozen thawed pinky, and hope they go for that. And if they go for that, great. And the other thing is I just always do the bag method. I don't even try just putting it in the cage and drop feeding it like that or anything. I just instantly put them in the bag with the prey item.
You mean like a paper bag type of deal?
Correct. Yes, sir. Yeah. I'll put them in.
It's still just bizarre to me that works, and not only with alterna, but like other species too. Where it's like, what is it about a paper bag that is so much more enticing than anything else? That just
it
doesn't make sense.
And I wonder if it's a safety thing. I wonder if it's they just can't get away from it. It's in their face. I don't know.
I almost wonder if it's also like, and this could be pure speculation. This might sound stupid, but like being in a different environment, it might be like might turn on like kind of like a hunt thing in their head, like kind of a search, even though they were put into that environment.
I mean, the one thing that stands out to me is scent, because if you put them in a deli cup in something dark, they don't eat. You drop feed and they're in like a darker rack or a tub that, there's not a lot of light, they don't eat. So it's kind of like the one common denominator there is the scent's different. Like the smell of the bag or something. I don't know. I've wondered that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bags are made from trees. Smells more like the forest. Bam. Yep. That's it.
That bleach they use to clean it and stuff. Maybe that's it.
Yeah, it's got to be a brown paper bag. That's the secret.
Do you like line them all up on a table and have them labeled like their little lunch bags, like a Sharpie?
No. It depends on what stage I'm on, but usually I just kind of throw it in there, and we'll go through the rack and put the snake in there, paper clip it up, put it back in its tub, and then check it the next day when I get home from work. Usually.
Dude, I've had people. I've heard people talk about like doing the bag method, and then putting him in their car and going for a drive, like trying to put a baby to sleep.
Like, I've heard people doing that with chondros.
It's weird. I don't.
That
think
makes
I would
sense
ever
to me because
try
that's like
that.
a movement. Like they can tell that they're moving. Like there's distance
like,
traveled there.
Why would that trigger a food response though? Like why does moving around trigger anything? Because if anything, I feel like I'd scare them more.
The same reason you start salivating when you see a Culver's.
That has no correlation. I'm from Wisconsin. I salivate over Culver's anytime I see it. There's no correlation.
That's one thing feels herping where I feel like you'll drive yourself mad going, why are they out today and they're not, they were
especially
here
on days that
yesterday.
are, like on paper, they're supposed to be perfect conditions to be finding this stuff, and you will completely strike out, and then you'll go on like the worst days possible, and somehow everything's out and about.
See, so I haven't had the perfect conditions, no snake thing in a while, if ever, because like I have certain roads that like if it's perfect condition, I can almost guarantee finding something. Maybe not riddled with snakes, but I have certain, at least time of year. If it's the middle of the summer, it's August, it's hotter than balls out, like then yeah, you're never guaranteed anything. But like this time of year, if it's perfect conditions, I can almost guarantee snakes on certain areas that I'm very confident in.
But then you go one spot over and they're not
there.
They're not there. The identical conditions, and it's like, why? What's going on here?
So that actually happened to me and Justin the one time we went road cruising last year. We went on. I was like, dude, tonight's the night. We just got a rain. We're gonna find stuff. I went on my road that's been so hot for so long. Didn't find a single snake. I said, okay, let's go check out this other road. We passed the marker for like that money zone of like time frame. We hit that road.
The money zone.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Like 30 minutes before dusk, 30 minutes after, that hour time frame is like the golden hour for finding stuff. And we went on a different road and found like 4 DORs. Biggest
all within like 50 yards of each other consecutively.
Biggest copperhead I've ever seen in my life was smashed on the side of the road. We
should have got a picture of that, dude. I'm really upset we didn't get a picture of that while we had.
Dude, that thing
was just mind blowing.
Like 3 foot like copperhead. I've never seen anything like that in my life. It was huge. Big old canebrake. Another dead copperhead. I think we found like 3 DOR copperheads. Massive canebrake that was dead.
Like fresh. Like the blood was probably still warm.
I think it was still twitching.
Yeah.
Like it was.
Like missed it by minutes.
Yeah. I was like, man, we should just hit this road, But it was the same night, same conditions. But for whatever reason on that road, they were moving. And they got smushed.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that's something I've experienced more in South Texas than in West Texas. Okay. Where, West Texas seems pretty kind of consistent. I don't know if that's just a bias because, you're not seeing the numbers that you see in South Texas where, you can have
South Texas being
like
if you're putting it in
like the freer
locality.
Area.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of that general locality. Well, not that far. And I do want to go down there though. That does seem like an interesting thing and just something completely different. I haven't gone deep south.
Is Corpus Christi considered deep south?
Well, I'm talking like going down to what is it, like Port Isabel, I think, and looking for like northern cat-eyed snakes. I think that would be that'd be pretty cool.
That would
try to find that.
Yeah, you'll find a lot of Atrox in Corpus Christi. I can tell you that.
I feel like you find a lot of Atrox anywhere that's sand and desert.
Yeah, you can never base whether you think it's going to be a snaky night or not over an Atrox. It's like there's always one dumb one set out where you're like, all right, here we go.
It's 96 degrees and 12 o'clock at night. What are you doing?
Yes, yeah. Well, that's it's been funny though. I feel like recently over the last few years out west, like I've just personally not been seeing as many Atrox as I have in the past, and I don't know anything to it, but it's just you seem to not see as many as I was.
It's the squirrels of Texas.
Yeah.
What's your favorite as far as West Texas goes? Like, what's your favorite area to go and cruise and herp?
Ooh, wherever there's rain. I think that's kind of my favorite spot.
That was a perfect
that's the best answer.
Best answer I've heard yet. I love that. I tell you, man, I follow the rains. Like if it's been dry, it's been shut up. If it's been dry for a long time, like I don't really bother with it. But as soon as it rains and it's warm, I'm like, let's go. Like
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't matter where I'm staying. If I'm out there and there's rain, we're going.
Yeah.
I don't know. As a first timer going out there, man, it was hard to sort of pick a favorite because,
it didn't rain.
Not even that, but like when you're comparing like Lajitas to Davis, like they're very different places, just in terms of landscape and stuff. Like Lajitas was really cool. I liked Lajitas. I also liked Davis, and I liked walking around looking for leps and whatever else we could find. And it was surprised. I was not going into it. I was not expecting to see as much in terms of like biome diversity as what we saw.
Yes. Yeah. Some of my favorite spots, I don't think I've ever seen them in the day, so I couldn't tell you what's around it, other than Google Maps, right? But I think that's one thing. It is crazy when you've herped a spot for a long time, and then for some reason you are there in the day. At least me personally, I'm there like, oh, this is what's on the other side of the road. It's a cliff. That's
this is really pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did that a lot. Like we'd drive past some of these cuts, and then we'd be there at night, and Phil would be like, yeah, we drove by this earlier. And I'm like, I honestly, if you told me, like, put a gun to my head and said, you got to tell me where you are right now or you're done, like, couldn't point it out on a map. Like, don't even know what highway I'm on. Like, screwed.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's pitch black. Like, I don't know what's going on.
And that's the funny thing about doing that, man. Like I road cruised the same road for a long time, and then I drove it during the day because I was traveling for whatever, and I look over and I'm like, oh, there's a graveyard right there. Never knew that was existent. Like I had no idea that was there. But yeah, drove that road 100 freaking times. Never knew there was.
Well, it was funny too because some of those cuts, like we'd walk them at night, and then we'd drive by them the next morning, and I'm like, those seemed a lot bigger at night. Drive by them, like that thing was only like 6 feet tall. Like, no way. Like that thing was 3 times bigger than that when we were like looking at it with our flashlights. It was wild.
Yeah. Well, and I don't think the size of the cut matters. That's the way I started herping compared to the way I do now. I for the most part pick a single cut and we'll walk that for 8 hours, and then then we go back and go to sleep, and then we'll be out at the same cut the next day doing the same thing, and the diversity you see from one pass to the other is it's always changing. The way I look at a cut is like it's a TV, and kind of what we're seeing pop out of that cut every once in a while is just coming through the cable. And there's a chance of anything popping out through there, and so just keep hunting that same spot.
So I'm gonna ask a really dumb question as a southeastern herper.
Brace yourself.
Now, what is considered a cut? I've always heard that, but I don't really know what is like. What is the definition of a cut? Is that like between two mountain things or whatever?
So it's generally just going to be wherever the engineers deemed to be the cheapest, fastest route to run the highway. If there's
instead of going over it, they just decided to blow through it.
Yeah.
Okay, so cut is literally like a cut through two mountain
like areas. Hills, like large hills. I guess is what they consider them.
That's always what I pictured, but I wasn't really sure.
Yeah. And then there's natural cuts that you'll see where it's just where you're going to see a hill coming down, and some of my favorite spots is working those.
So low areas essentially.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, I think working like riverbeds and stuff like that too. Where it's just kind of natural corridors. That seems to be very productive.
You put it that way, it makes way more sense to me. That's I do rivers. That's what we got around here.
It's really interesting. We run into different spots where it took me I don't even know how many years to see my first Pictogaster, and then after that, I have seen so many now. And there's this one cut where they come up from a ravine, and they'll come up this rock wall, and you can see them down at the bottom, and then you'll see them pop up like 20 minutes later just from a crack in the wall. and then they'll make their way to the cut, and you can watch them crawl up the cut and, you know, go into a hole, and, you know, but I see tons of blacktails over there, tons of picks.
Yeah, we never saw any Trans-Pecos. We saw Abe Ornate and an Atrox. And I think Zoolander almost got freaking tetanus catching that blacktail because he snagged himself on a barbed wire fence or something as it was going under it.
God.
Pretty gnarly. But do you what's your take on the whole like locality thing with Alterna and stuff like that, as far as like actual highway markers and cuts and things like that?
Well, all right.
That's a loaded question.
Yeah. This is okay. This is just my opinion.
As someone who's out there all the time and sort of like sees it and, you know, spends a quantifiable amount of time out there.
Yeah.
As someone who doesn't, I see things like people, you know, down to the highway marker and things like that. And then when I produced Alterna and saw that I got a ton of variation from two snakes that were supposed to be from the same place, and it was like, well, wait a second.
I feel like Alterna is kind of hard to say that with, though, just because you get a ton of variation. I feel like our Alterna are already very variable. So I think that's kind of a hard thing to say, even if they came from the same place. I feel like you get a ton of variability.
Yeah.
This is coming from somebody that doesn't keep Alterna, so I could be 1,000% wrong on that. But that's just what I have been able to see from.
Yeah, I think my opinion will differ from, I think, kind of the common consensus on localities and kind of how that works. You know, I think that you know, going out and finding the animal yourself, that's a way to be like, hey, this is where this is from. But, you know, back in the day, you know, at the Comstock Motel, that just used to be a trading post where people would come from all over. And, you know, you get a guy coming from out of state and he wants to leave with an Alterna and he doesn't really care where it's from.
Mm-hmm.
And there's going to be someone there going, oh, what locality are you looking for? Oh, yeah, I got that back in my room. I'll be right back. I got that, you know, and whether it was maybe that locality or not. So, you know, I think there's always kind of a chance with that stuff. And also, too, you know, I think we're mistaking locality for selective breeding. I think a lot. Mm-hmm. Where, you know, you look at, you know, someone's envisionment of the best possible thing that they thought was in that area, and then they breed for that. And then that is the locality that we know or the world knows. You know, perfect example, I look at River Road stuff.
Yeah.
You know, everybody thinks of Chaos Line, River Road stuff. And can you find a really speckly animal there? Yes, you can. You know, the first one was found there. But you can also get, you know, basically a dirty Blair's phase,
mm-hmm.
you know, animal in the same area. And that is as legitimate. You know, it's a River Road locality, but you wouldn't guess.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of just where the confusion's always been for me. You know, you have some Sanderson animals and you breed them and you get stuff that doesn't necessarily look like the animals that produced it, you know. And it was like, well, wait a second, I thought this was kind of what Sanderson was known to look like, you know?
Yeah, but see, known to look like in 100% of the time looks like are two very different things, you know. Because like me, I am a locality guy. You know, I like keeping localities the same, but I'm more of if it's in the same county, I'm good.
Right.
You know, like they don't.
I feel like that's fair, but
they don't have to look exactly alike. Granted, yeah, because that's where the selective breeding part comes in. But if you're a purist in the form of like, you know, you want everything from the same county, then I feel like it doesn't really matter.
To me, it just seems like the mile marker thing is a bit extreme.
Well, and I say that, but I would still only breed cut to cut. And I wouldn't outcross necessarily, you know, anything. Not outcrossing is the right term there, but, you know, I'm still into locality. I just don't think that it is the way that it's looked at kind of as a whole.
Right.
You know, and also too, I think that there's a chance that a lot of the Alterna we're looking at, you know, are just dirty mutts, you know, and, and, you know, you look at the pictures of gray bands from Mexico, right? And they kind of look a little bit more like a Leonis, and then up here you're looking at them and they look a little bit more like a milk snake. And you see some pairings where you'll see a milk snake to an alterna, and or kind of what looks to be a hybrid, and the babies that are coming out of that clutch, you can't tell the difference on some of those. Some of them you look at and go, oh, look, that animal looks different, it looks off. But the other ones, that's a Blair's phase alterna.
All right.
You doing anything with Leonis?
No, sir. No.
Oh man,
I've thought about it. I've been tempted.
Dude, it is so tempting. Paint Shop keeps sending me pictures of some of the ones he has, and I'm like,
I was about to say,
I was like, don't fucking do it, dude.
I was about to say Paint Shop's gonna end up.
I'm not gonna fight him if he does, but I'm like, at the same time, I'm like,
he's gonna end up getting me on some of those, man. If I've told him several times, I'm like, if you get some high white Leonis,
dude, you get a bone white Leonis with that like fire red banding on it. It's just,
dude. That's why I told him. I'm like, look, I don't like all like the crazy colors all mixed in. If you get something high white with really thin banding, it's like I'm in.
That is one of my biggest regrets is not holding on to the ones my dad had when he got out of things, because he had some that I was like, I really don't want to.
He had Leonis.
Yeah. He had a nice group of Leonis. He had some that were out of this world, and then I'm like, that's one of my favorite king snake species, if not
they're so
my top pick. Like I like those more than alterna, just in turn because of how much more they have going on. But I don't know, man. It's super tempting, and of course, Chris is sending me pictures of his all the time, and I'm like, damn it.
He's got some nice ones, that's for sure.
But switching gears a little bit, you got some green anacondas.
I do keep those. Yeah.
You currently keep those?
Yeah. I've had. I think my oldest female. I think I've had her for 8-9 years now.
Oh wow.
The only people I know that have had them at one point or another was Jeff and Kendra. In terms of people I personally like in our in my own circle that I know and talk to on a regular basis, Jeff and Kendra.
They don't keep them anymore, do they?
No, they got.
I don't think so.
Yeah, no, I kept them when I was younger. I got a wild caught animal that never did well for me, and then whenever they started putting the restrictions on them, is when I was like, you know what? I think this might be my one chance to get a pair. So I did at that point. As a kid, it was $100 snake.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Damn, J-Lo and Ice Cube ruined it for everybody, man.
But so getting those, and just my thing was, I didn't see anybody else really keeping them, and it was $100 import, so I just thought, I was young, you used to see rock pythons all the time at just pet shops, and just tons of different stuff, cool stuff that as I got older I didn't see anymore, and then the price would creep up on it, and or you couldn't find it at all, and so when I saw that happen, I thought I'm going to get a pair of those just to hang on to them so that I have them.
What were the issues you were having with the wild caught?
Oh, that was so long ago, and it just I didn't know what I was doing when I had it. I think was
what weren't the issues is the question.
Yeah, I just could never get it to eat, and it just wasn't. So many factors could have gone into that.
Yeah,
at the time. I was again probably 10 at that point. Probably shouldn't have been having one at all.
Wow. That's insane.
That's probably one of the most Texas statements I think I've ever heard.
Supportive parents.
I had a green anaconda.
Hey, at least you had supportive parents, man. Like I wasn't allowed to keep anything that got over 4 feet long when I was 13, let alone a green anaconda when I was 10. Good God.
Yeah, probably wouldn't do it if I was in that situation. I'd probably be like, you know what? Let's not do that.
So what are your adults? So you have a pair right now?
I have a trio. It's going to be 2 females and a male. But I've not even tried to pair them up. It's funny that I don't enjoy selling snakes. And
most of us don't.
Yeah, so I just breed stuff for myself. For the most part. So I have them. At some point I will for fun, but
yeah, dude, I'm not gonna lie, man. you saying that, I respect the hell out of that. Like somebody, like yourself that says, I breed for myself. Like that is almost like a breath of fresh air, almost. It's really nice to hear somebody say something like that, because a lot of people breed like, oh, I'm gonna breed these and I'm gonna sell, everything. And I'm also guilty of that. The stuff I'm pairing, I plan on selling pretty much all the babies. I'm breeding for myself because I want to breed them and see what comes out of it. I'm definitely keeping some, but part of it's also like I just want to give away baby snakes to friends and shit. But somebody like yourself who's just bringing like, yeah, I'm breeding because I want to do it for me is it's awesome. I love to hear that.
It's I would argue it's more just greed on my end that when I produce baby alterna, it's like, yeah, you're all gonna stay here. We're gonna see what you turn into.
Well, that's I mean, that's the problem with stuff that changes so much from the time they're babies to the time they're adults. Is like you kind of have to, if you really want to, if you're trying to like build upon something long term, like you have to sit on stuff longer than you normally would if you were just selling them to sell them.
Yeah. And that's like, I got some Olympia Canyon animals from BlackBox, and just seeing those animals when I got them, it was like a darker animal. And as it's gotten older, the female in particular, she's this awesome buckskin color where it's like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
So with the greens, like, what are you, I ask this because like, I don't know many people that keep greens, how big are your adults, and like kind of like what are you keeping them in?
Yeah, so I'm just keeping them in cages I made for them. They're gonna be 8x4, and I could definitely do something bigger in the future with them. And my biggest female, she's probably around 10-12 feet, somewhere around there.
I mean, they're not a fast growing species, right?
No, not at all. And what's really weird is for a long time my female went off feed, and she'll only eat rats, so she'll eat big jumbo rats all day, but throw a chicken in there with her, a dead chicken, and she won't go for it. Every once in a while she'll take a rabbit. Every once in a while mess with a guinea pig, but rats are her go-to, so weird little things like that. But I've definitely heard of that with other people with larger animals. They get kind of picky.
Yeah, that seems to be sort of the thing with working with them too, is it seems like they're either really easy to deal with, or they're just really not easy to deal with in terms of handling and having to remove them to do cleaning or whatever you might have to do.
Yeah,
what's your experience been like there?
Yeah, I would concur with that. They're definitely very, and that's on me for not holding them as much as when they were younger. I should definitely mess with them more, but it's manageable. But it is a big animal. It's definitely not something that I think that there's just a pet that people should be getting. It's a lot, and I think that goes into part of the reason too why I haven't bred them. I will eventually just to keep the bloodline going, but yeah, just how do you find a good home for that?
Yeah, and I think that's my biggest thing with green anacondas, and it's sad because you look at green anacondas and retics. There's not a whole and venomous. There's not a whole lot of difference between green anacondas and retics. Retics are a little bit longer. Anacondas are heavier bodied. For whatever reason, everybody looks at green anacondas as the biggest snake in the fucking world. Like it's pretty much known. Retics get a little bit longer. Anacondas are a little bit heavier. That's kind of the rule of thumb or whatever. But it's so funny that like there's not that many people out there that breed green anacondas versus retics when there's almost very little difference.
I think it's anacondas are much more difficult, I think, to breed successfully.
Yeah, it absolutely is, and
well,
I don't know. It's funny hearing you being like, yeah, I'm worried about finding a home for these green anacondas when there's probably a lot of people that would buy the shit out of those things like right away, but retics are massively bred, across the U.S. So it's like, come on, man.
There's people that buy dwarf caimans when they're tiny and cute too, and then realize that.
Yeah, exactly. That's a perfect example.
Well, and again, just absolutely no judgment on anybody and what they keep and how they do what they do, and I do whatever you want, and it's just what I do personally. But you don't see a lot of people posting pictures of their adult retics. Usually it's kind of that 10-foot animal. You'll see that, and you don't see a lot of adults.
Yeah, and that's what I mean when I see like the stuff that Brewers cranking out. It's like, where the fuck are all these things going? Like, where are they going?
I can't even, dude, I follow him just to see the disaster. Like, I don't even know if I follow him, but
not even giving him that much attention.
I don't even, like I said, I don't even think I follow him.
Seeing
but his posts come up on my suggested.
Just the number of clutches and stuff that it seems like he's pulling out. It's like, where the fuck are all these going?
It's ridiculous, man. And that's the thing. That's the difference between somebody like him, somebody like you, Lewis. It's like that dude's producing as much as he can, whenever he can. He's producing 20 to 30, retic clutches a year at 20 to 30, 40 babies a pop, and it's like, how many people are buying these things? And
from what I understand, a lot of it's going overseas, but that's still a lot of retics that are getting shot out into the world via a caiman.
Yeah, that's a lot of big snakes going out into the world to people who don't know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah,
or what they're getting,
Yeah, and the concern there is, right, it ruins it for the rest of us, right? Where it's like, we're not gonna let anything go. That's never gonna happen. That it's an insane thought, but people do it, and you're sat there going, "What? Why? Who is this person?" You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's mind blowing, man. Like, how many people just buy? I mean, and I'm not gonna lie, I was almost one of those people. I was that close to buying a baby retic because, I just loved this animal so
gorgeous
much. From a dude, they're so pretty, and this animal was so nice. And I'm like, oh, and he's telling me oh, dude, you can keep it in a 6x3 as an adult, and
it'll only get as big as the enclosure you're keeping it in.
Yeah, I got home and I thought about it. I was like, no, I can't. No, I can't. This thing's gonna get 15 foot long. If I'm lucky.
Jake's doing the math. He's like, wait a second.
No, there's no way. This was a very long time ago, for the record, and I'm like, this is just, it's ridiculous, man. People who think you can stick a 12, 15-foot animal in a 6-foot enclosure it's mind boggling. You can. Will it survive? Yeah. But is it great? No.
Yeah.
Again, do whatever you see is best for your animal. If you do that, I mean no harm. I am not judging anybody for what they do. This is personal preference. I would never keep retics because I would want to provide something massive, something like you do, Lewis, an 8x4. I cannot do that in my 10x12 room. So that's just not going to happen.
Yeah. And that's, and people do great with them, right? And it's just, but do you need thousands being pumped out there every, year? Probably not.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, it's, man, they're, like I said, just a normal wild type retic, man. I almost like that more than pretty much any morph I've seen. But I also know very well aware of my limits, and knowing that it's no matter what size house I have or anything, there's never going to be enough room to devote to that. And it's also not even necessarily a space thing, but it's do I really want to devote the time and energy to dealing with a larger snake like that? And feeders get expensive at that point too when you get into the bigger sizes. And it's just to me, it's just not worth the hassle.
I respect the hell out of people like you, Lewis, who really put in the time and the enclosure size into those animals. If I had the space, I would love to do it. I love big friggin' snakes. I love them, but I'm not capable.
That's why he has the pits.
Exactly. pits and carpets are as close as I'm gonna get to keeping anything quote unquote big. You know, I tell somebody I'm like, oh, you know, my big snake's 6.5 foot. They're like, oh my god, that's huge. You know, like you have no idea.
I mean, some Pitulophus get pretty big, man. Some of those South Texas bull snakes you'll see. I mean, it's a big snake.
No, yeah, no,
hefty size.
They're big. You know, I've got a pair of Clayburgh County Texas bulls here and some other stuff that are gonna get 6-7 foot long. And yeah, I love big colubrids. I always will, but my max is like
that
7 foot. 7 foot is pretty much my max for a snake, maybe 8, you know, because I love Cribos. I would love to get in the Yellowstone Cribos one day, but that's when I can provide like a 6-8 foot enclosure. And right now, that's just not doable for me. So,
yeah, I think knowing your limitations is good, you know, and I think that, but so often, you know, people walk into a show and they go, oh, this is what I want today, right now.
I'll figure it out.
Yeah. And I'm guilty of it myself. I did that when I was a kid, you know what I mean? But just over time, you know.
And I feel like people, I'm not going to say like us, but people experience, it's more, you're able to do that. You know, get something small, you know what it's going to get to, and be like, you know, I'll figure out a bigger cage when the time comes, you know, and you'll figure it out. And that's the difference between knowing what you're getting into and not.
I think it's more so knowing what to expect.
Right. You know, like somebody like 3 of us can see a baby Cribo, you know, small, cute, adorable, beautiful, and say, hey, you know, I'm going to grab this and I'll figure out a really big cage down the road. And that's perfectly acceptable. You know, you don't have to have a 6 foot cage ready for it when it's a baby, you know, but knowing what you're getting into is half the battle, you know, with those types of animals. You know, that goes into free ticks, Burmese pythons, anacondas, you know, even yellow anacondas, man. Those aren't small snakes. But
yeah, and that's, you know, it's just with the power of the internet now, you know, there's so much knowledge at the tips of all of our fingers. But then, you know, you look at stuff where, you know, you'll see someone ask a question in a group and they'll just get demolished. And it's like, you know, I feel like I want to comment on it and reach out and be like, hey, you know, yeah, you don't have to do it this way. You can do it this way, and that's just fine. And your animals will be okay. Once you get to this point, do this. It's all good. You're going to be all right. Yeah. But instead, you know, these people just get lambasted.
Everyone gets their sticks and marshmallows ready for the roast.
Yeah. And, you know, that does no value to the hobby. We want as many people keeping these reptiles as possible. It makes us stronger, you know, as a group. And, but it's this elitist kind of vibe that everybody has. And most of the time it's kind of, what are they even talking about? You know?
That's why, like, you know, for one, when it comes to posting stuff, I don't comment on anybody's thing unless it's a buddy that's like, yeah, we just got this, and I'm like, awesome, you know, like shit like that. But if it's somebody new and they post a question and they're just getting bombarded with bullshit answers and they're getting roasted by everybody, it's like occasionally I'll message them and be like, hey, I work with this species, let me tell you what I do, what works for me, XYZ. I never comment. I never do the whole, because then it just opens up whole other doors for me to get mad and want to curse somebody out, curse somebody out on Facebook. And that's not my thing. I don't do that. So occasionally I've done it a couple times. I'll message somebody and be like, hey, I work with these. I have adults. This is what has worked for me. This is what I do, XYZ. But even then there's 1,000 other people telling them that they're full of shit. And they're wrong, and they're a terrible person for how they keep their animal or how they want to keep their animal. And
don't you dare have a red bulb on a corn snake and post about it.
Don't do it. Don't ever do that.
You would have thought people poured gasoline in that tank and set it on fire.
Honestly,
insane. But you're starting a or have started a feeder business. What was the motivation for getting into that and deciding to make it a business?
Yeah, so deciding to make it a business, that was just, I think everybody kind of wants to try to do their own thing at a certain point, and the effort you put in is kind of what you'll get out, you hope, right? So that was one of the main reasons behind just turning it into a business. The main reason for starting to do it was, over time, just the quality of rodent I feel like we kind of get is kind of gone downhill, and it's the sizes aren't correct. You get, animals that aren't, just not a robust looking feeder animal. Not that there's not some value, maybe feeding a little bit underweight animal every once in a while to change it up, but you don't want to have that happening when you're paying for a bag of 50 mice or whatever, and they're hoppers in there and you ordered small.
Yeah, and I mean, Jake's had that, with a company that were named nameless, but he got a bag that was supposed to be one thing, and he showed it to me, and I was like, "What the fuck is this? Like this?"
And I told you
this is
straight
not
up.
what you ordered. Like this is.
I can tell you exactly what it was too, because I remember this because it bothered me for so long. Again, a company that will remain nameless. I ordered black fuzzies because they were on sale, and I'm always about the sales. So I ordered these black fuzzies. These were hopper to small sized adults at fuzzy weight. Like they were literally
very weird. They were like dwarfed.
Skin and bone hopper. They were considered hoppers, but they were like a fuzzy weight. They had no meat to them whatsoever. They were literally skin and freaking bone. Just the worst rodents I've ever seen in my life. I'm not gonna lie. They were absolutely terrible. So Justin hits me up and he's like, "Hey man, you got some fuzzies?" And I was like, "Yeah,
I'll give you."
I'll
give you. To me, I was like, "What the hell is this?"
I was like, "I give you plenty." I was like, "I'm gonna tell you, these do not look like fuzzies. They have a full thing of hair on them. They are hoppers all the way, but they're the same weight as a fuzzy."
Man,
it's just terrible.
Yeah, and the other thing too is, I think that you look a lot of, and not that I have this completely figured out and that I'm finalized with my formula and what I want to do, but you look at most of the rodent diet that's getting fed, that it'll keep the animal alive just fine, it'll do good for the rat, but what is it doing for the end user, right? Exactly. What is the snake really getting out of that? If it's just a standard rodent block all the time, that's formulated for them, not for the snake, right? You're going into kind of like a lab setting where you want it to be consistent results all the time, and I don't know if that's the best thing for our snakes, right? You look at some studies of wild rodent diets, and it's the majority of it is going to be insects. And now, while that's not feasible to feed hundreds of rats insects all the time, it's definitely something you can mix in, and we do. We feed Madagascar hissing cockroaches to our rats regularly to try to change it up.
You just give them to them live?
Yeah. They go crazy for
really?
it. Yeah. Live insects, they're not joking around.
That's awesome.
What about you do like crickets?
I don't do any crickets just because I'm not breeding them. I haven't need to start doing crickets, but I'm not currently doing them. But we'll feed excess Madagascar hissing cockroaches or dubia roaches. We'll offer to them, and that goes really well.
Well, yeah, man, I haven't. I want to try it, but I'm always like, I have a feeling the rats will kind of look at them like, "What the hell do you want me to do with that?"
No, yeah, they're just gonna dive on them.
Really?
Yeah,
we're gonna have to try that.
Yeah, like watch your fingers. Go for it.
Well, man, please send me do you have a website or anything? Is that?
Yeah, we do have a website, and so right now we're soon, hopefully, going to be offering shipping on our rodents. We do currently.
Okay, so no shipping yet.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we currently do offer that on our Madagascar hissing cockroaches and dubias and isopods, but trying to figure out how to get the rodent shipping at a feasible cost. I don't want to have someone hit me up and then me say, yeah, your shipping's going to be $100. That's not fair to you. So right. How can I come up with a different way to do that and get a good frozen product that shows up to your door frozen, not thawed out and smelly. You should be getting something that comes in rock hard frozen.
And I will say that hasn't been like I've been fortunate to not have an issue with, and you know, the few times I've bought bulk frozen, like I've never stuff's arrived fully frozen. I haven't had any issues with it thawing or getting delayed or anything like that. So I have been lucky there, but I know there are people that have most definitely ordered things and it came to them not.
Yeah, and it might just be a Texas issue, you know, something I run into.
Hey man,
The company so damn big.
The company I currently get from is out of Texas. And I'll tell you, man, like I switch companies just for quality. I'm still not in love with it, if I'm being honest. Again, nameless here. I like them for the most part. I'm not in love, and I wish there was a little bit more variability, because that's the thing. The company that has a lot of variability within like feeders, they kind of suck, like as far as everything else goes. And then the company that's pretty good only sells mice and chicks, and I need bigger quail and stuff like that. But like I obviously have to do, if I want quail or, you know, stuff like that, I order from the other company. Or hairless mice, I get hairless mice for my Nerodia, because they don't digest hair like that. So when I get hairless mice and quail, like I'll get from one company. Then if I just want mice and rats, I get from this other company, and they're good, but I don't love them because I get a lot of, this is kind of gross, like broken mice. Like they vacuum seal all that they have, and me like breaking apart the pinkies and fuzzies.
Yeah.
They split in half, and like I'm not about that. Like I don't offer pieces to my animals. Like I really don't, unless it's Nerodia. Like I chop up pinkies and stuff. Like that doesn't bother me as much. But if I have,
it's hard to thaw out a half a mouse.
I have a couple bags in my freezer right now that just have like 4 different halves of hoppers and 6 different halves of pinkies, and I'm like, I don't know what to do with this. Like I don't want to waste it because it feels like a waste, but I don't want to feed it to my snakes because it's a half of a rodent, you know, and it's just kind of gross to me. So whenever you guys are shipping rodents, please let me know.
Yes, sir,
because
for sure.
I order frequently because I keep colubrids and they eat a lot. So
I understand that.
I have to make an order about every 2 to 3 months, depending on what I need. So please let me know, because I'm looking for somebody that's quality and, you know, that's kind of competitive with pricing, because obviously I have to look at pricing, but I'm willing to spend more money to get quality rodents that are broken in half when I try and break them apart, because they are vacuum sealed and I destroy them trying to get them.
Yeah. And you know, while anything is possible in shipping and stuff happens, right, that we just don't have control over, you know, with the pinkies and stuff like that, what we're trying to do is, you know, we're doing standard packs of 10 together, right? So you know, you're getting a vacuum sealed bag where it's just not going to be loose floating around in there. And that,
I think
you know,
that's mostly from like the flash freezing is where you get the broken, you know, it gets like brittle almost. They're not like frozen.
It's not that they're brittle, it's that like I get the packs of 50 in the from the company that I get from. I get the packs of 50, and again, I'm not saying anything bad about them. They've been great. I like the rodents. It's the fact that there's 50 of them packed in this really small vacuum sealed bag, and I have to break them apart. And upon breaking them apart, a pinky snaps in half because they're frozen. Right. You know, so that happens to fuzzies and hoppers. The bigger stuff never happens. Like especially from this company, does not happen. Like I'm totally good with the bigger stuff. It happens to pinkies, hoppers, or pinkies, fuzzies, and hoppers. That's where I have the problem. Is like they're so frozen together that I have to break it apart, and then there's one that's like caught in between, and it snaps in half. And like again, pinky's not a big deal.
That's why I freeze mine before I vacuum seal them, because then you like if they're still. Like if they're not frozen and you put them all together and vacuum seal them, then you get a giant clump of frozen mouse, like one big.
And
brick.
that's
when that happens.
Stand it.
I
can't stand it.
And one of the problems, especially with pinkies, right, is it does not take long for them to start to thaw, right? So you start to get them thaw, and then they freeze back again, and then you end up with a clump, right? Where that's, I know that feeling.
Like I said, in the pinkies, it doesn't matter because I normally chop those up as it is, for as many as I get chopped up or like broken in half, I can give those to the Nerodia. I normally cut those in half anyways for a couple groups. But it's the other stuff that I want to give a whole pinky to. Like the other day, I had several that were either broken in half or it looked like I cut slits in them. There was one I gave one of your Ladies Island females a pinky, and it had 3 perfect slits in it, and it was disgusting. And I was like, I don't even want to give this snake this pinky because it looks gross. It ate it and it was fine. It's just a paranoia thing with me, whatever. But I don't like it. I pay a lot of money for these things, and I don't want broken rodents.
No, and that's the thing. The rodent prices have gone up so much now.
Oh my God!
But what's good about that is it gives you a little bit more wiggle room to kind of mess with their diet, right? So while of course profitability is what we need for a business, but what can we put back into trying to make this animal not only a complete diet, but let's go out of our way a little bit. So we're always the standard diet we feed is going to be a mix of 3 different commercial diets all together. That's going to be their standard everyday diet. And then 2 times a week, I'm going to do a mix on top of that, which is going to be coconut oil and molasses to really kind of bring in some healthy fats for my females.
How are you mixing
that? Just in a big plastic container.
You're doing it as a liquid, or you have it
correct as a liquid. And that goes on there, and then I'll let it sit usually overnight, and then offer that to them the next day. But we do that twice a week as well. And then I'm always putting a powdered vitamin supplement on top of all their feed, just trying to get the most diverse diet we can. What micronutrients can we get in there as well, and different minerals.
I'm telling you, man, please let me know when you could ship. I will be one of your best customers.
Yes, sir. Well, hopefully, yeah. And that's
no doubt.
And we understand, right, the effort that people put in to make your money, right? And we respect that. Yeah. We're not going to send you, something we just threw in a bag, just to complete your order, right? We're going to talk to you about that and say, hey, this is where we're at,
Yeah, I know. I'm all about it, man. I'm one of those people, especially now, working 2 jobs and having a little bit, I'm not saying a lot, a little bit of excess money. I'm more willing to spend a little bit more now on rodents than I was, several months ago. Now, I'm very willing to spend that extra cost on rodents that aren't split in half and really well fed, especially talking to you and hearing what you do. A lot of these companies, they don't tell you what they're feeding them because a lot of them are just mass producing animals, and you already know they're getting fed dog food and whatever else they can get for the cheapest. I'd rather spend the extra couple bucks to get something that's really, really healthy, for my animals, because I know that's going to help in the long run.
Yeah. And like I said, we're feeding a mix of 3 commercial diets. It's nothing crazy, nothing that, isn't unknown to the world, and you got to keep, cost and factor with that and kind of what's coming out. But of course, I still think we're producing a very good quality rodent. And I think that, what I'm attempting to do, and I hope that as time goes on and as the revenue's there to be able to back it, we start to get to test our rodents and actually come down with breakdowns of kind of what that lot of rodents is actually made up of. It's not what we're doing yet. That's long-term goals of where we want to be. But, you look at different zoo protocols and what they're doing, how, and I don't know completely how feasible it is yet, but how can we offer that to the, just the everyday, keeper, and really try to change it up, something different.
Right. Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. Are y'all planning on trying to do any, do you breed quail or anything like that to go along with it?
Yeah, I'm not working with quail currently. Okay. It's something I've looked at. I've looked at trying to procure eggs and incubating them and hatching them out and kind of, stopping at that point. But I haven't been able to find someone that has a price that I can work with, that would come out for something that would at all be close fair to anybody else.
Yeah.
So, that's a limiting factor there. I'm waiting on my mouse racks to come in. That has been a long, tedious wait. But once those come in, we'll start going on that. I have a friend working with some hairless mice, so hopefully we'll get those going as well.
Oh, dude, if you get hairless mice, oh man, like I would love that, because like I need hairless mice. I feed hairless mice every single week. And the ones I buy, or I haven't had to buy any for a while because I don't go through a lot of them, but they're kind of gross.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, they're a little scrawny.
I know, not even scrawny. They look like they've been in the freezer for the last 6 months to a year. And again, nameless, but I don't like getting those, like I know, like I'm one of those people, like I understand snakes eat roadkill, whatever they can find. I understand the little freezer burn is not going to hurt your snakes, but I don't like it.
Yeah.
That's my biggest thing, like I understand it's not going to be bad, like whatever, I deal with it, but because it's the only thing I can get, but it's not my cup of tea. I don't enjoy it. So I'm trying to find, like, I want a company that offers different size quail, hairless rodents, and mice and rats. That would be the ultimate company, but nobody does that except one, and they're kind of garbage.
Yeah,
so
well, we got hairless rats already. That's already something we're working with. So that we have those, and then like I said, hopefully we'll be getting the hairless mice in as well as just a regular haired mouse.
And that's the thing, if you work with hairless rats already, like if you can make like rat pinks, like you're already halfway there, because a hairless pink or a hairless rat pink is the size of a small adult mouse.
Yeah.
So it, like that kind of works out, and especially into some of the bigger stuff.
Yeah. And then the reason, we started doing, another reason we started doing it was just seeing the power of supplementation with my alterna collection, where, you look at, I think a lot of people have, and I experienced this with my first breedings, where I had a lot of kinked animals coming out, and my temperatures were correct throughout it. I don't think I had any issues like that, and the animals develop, a spine kink over time. And I think you look at, I've anecdotally heard stories of guys back in the day, paying people to go catch lizards for them and feeding mainly lizards to their alterna collection and having successful clutches with no kinking, solid babies coming out. It just made me think that, there's something we're missing here. So when you look up, a nutritional breakdown of a lizard compared to a lab rat or lab mouse, it's just completely different, the makeup of that animal. So what are we missing inside that prey item? Once I started supplementing my alterna, even I had colors pop in my alterna where just oranges came out. The animals completely changed the way they look. And this was, again, super anecdotal. My last couple clutches have been very robust babies, absolutely no kinking at all, 100% success on feeding, and didn't lose any animals out of it, opposed to the difficulty that I've struggled with in the past. So I think brumation definitely has a factor in that too. Rule out, but just seeing the supplement change, really, I thought was really substantial.
Are there plans for you to do it full time?
That is ultimately where I would like to go, for sure, is being able to do that.
I got you. And you're doing roaches? You're doing bugs and rodents?
Correct. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Right now we're working with dubia roaches, Madagascar hissing cockroaches, and a few different type of isopod species, all stuff that's legal within the U.S. to ship across state lines. And then rats right now, mice are coming online once we get the racks in.
I gotcha. The how are the in terms of producing the hissers versus dubia? I've done dubia in the past. I've become sensitized to them, so I don't really mess with them anymore.
Very sensitized.
Yeah.
Let's don't downplay that, Smitty.
Yeah.
You know,
but I mean, like,
bad.
how are the hissers producing those in comparison? Are those very similar in terms of the?
Yeah, once the Madagascar hissing cockroaches got going, I started off with like 120 of them, and yeah, they took off.
I had one as a pet as a kid. I haven't had one since.
Yeah. Well, you know, and it's funny, the amount that I sell as pets is more than what I sell as feeders. Getting into them, when I saw them, you know, and why I started doing them was like, you know, is there anybody that's selling a big doobie or a big Madagascar hissing cockroach for an affordable price?
Yeah.
You know, you go online and it's all $10 for two, you know, but you hear all these people telling monitor keepers, oh, you know, you should be feeding more insects, this and that. But then what option do they have?
Right.
You know, so we're trying to have, you know, a really reasonably priced Madagascar hissing cockroach that, you know, bigger lizard keepers could come to and get.
Yeah, because you can't really do like discoids and stuff in most places, right?
I've just never messed with them. I don't know I haven't messed with them.
I'm fairly certain I can't even have those in Florida.
The
discoids, like the bigger stuff.
Yeah. What is the ones that you can have in Florida? Was it the lobster roach or something like that?
Yeah, I think those are red runners.
No. I think we're totally wrong. I think we're totally wrong here. I don't know.
I'm amazed that I think you can't. I think you can have dubia in Florida. I wouldn't be surprised.
You definitely can't have dubia in Florida.
Every
I know
roach
that
species was banned in Florida.
Yeah, it was funny.
Fucking Florida, man.
Well, you know, Florida doesn't mess around, man. When I was applying for my my APHIS permit with for my isopods, my wife helped me with it and took care of it while I was doing other stuff, and she accidentally submitted it to Florida. I had just no intentions in even trying to ship isopods to Florida because for that reason, I don't think Florida allows anything. Not even gonna try. Yeah. But she ended up applying to Florida, and they gave me a phone call, and they were like, hey, we just need you to send in voucher specimens of each of the species you've listed here. Once our entomologist goes through and confirms that this is what it is, you know, we'll get you approved to be able to ship into Florida. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, which I told her, I didn't even mean to apply. Don't worry about it. But the woman was very, very helpful and really like, well, no, we want you to be able to ship to Florida. You know, there's no reason why you can't. Just got to do this. And, you know, so very helpful, very great people, but just wasn't the route I was trying to go anyway.
Imagine the stuff that entomologist sees.
Oh, yeah.
The stuff that crosses his desk.
I just think about it, too.
It is not that at all.
It's one of those things where the guy's going to deny it regardless, but he's just like, free bugs. Let's go. You know, let's see what's going over here. It's a perk.
Yeah.
So what are you doing with your rats currently, like as far as the groups, like ratios and rotations and you know, recycling your groups and what kind of that schedule and whatnot?
Yeah. So with the way I'm running my tubs right now, I have them paired up where I have 2 females to a male per tub. And, you know, I've heard counter arguments for doing it different ways that I think are very viable, especially with looking at productivity of your individual females. There's the idea of having like a breeding pit where you're going to have multiple females in there and pull the females as you see them become pregnant. I think that's what I used to do as a kid. I just didn't want to dedicate the space to that and didn't think it was as good. But that's, I think,
kind of what I do now. Like if I have clearly pregnant females, I'll put them in like a separate maternity tub with, you know, 2 other. If I have other pregnant females as well, I'll put them all together in sort of a maternity tub and have them sort of do their own thing. And then I have less males than I do females, and every other week, you know, I'll rotate a male to another tub and kind of mix things up a bit.
Yeah. And I think there's
and
I think there's definitely value in that. I think you'll probably raise up more babies kind of in general, but I pull so many pinkies that I keep my numbers pretty low already so that the females aren't getting overwhelmed too much.
I mean, dude, getting that group of rats I got recently, like that's one of the best things I've ever done in terms of like my collection and things like that, because they've been light years easier than mice. Because I had a real hitch with mice where I did not time grow outs and raising some up to replace, retired breeders and stuff. And there's just a solid, like they're just kind of now getting back to the point to where they're producing litters regularly. But man, there was a point where for like months I was getting nothing out of them. And it was because I didn't time it. It was actually this time last year because I was trying to get more, small pinkies for baby snakes that were on their way. And so in anticipation of that, I just started taking every litter of small pinks that I could, and not even for whatever reason to completely skip my mind thinking, oh, well, next couple litters, I'll just hold those back. And I just didn't do that. And so I ended up really screwing myself on the pinky front there. And the rats are nice because a lot of the, my yearling stuff and up rat pups are like the perfect size, and I don't have to wait to get those big like I would with the mice, where I have to sit on them for an extra 2 weeks or so. And those rats have been producing great, and they've been really easy to deal with in terms of like introducing males into new groups and like shifting things around, where like with mice you had to be so much more particular about that because males are just so brutal to each other all the time if you have multiple in there.
Yeah, with mice, I would run it the same way I run my rats, where I would just leave the male in there and not try to move them around. That's how I always did mice back in the past. I wouldn't even try moving a male around.
Well, I'd have some groups for some reason where I'd have like a tub of females, and like maybe I had a male in there and I'd moved him, and then something happened. I don't know. I just lost track of what ratios I had, and I'd have some tubs that had 2 males for whatever reason. Like I said, it was just a sort of a fiasco, but I've got it sort of back on track now. But the rats, it's been so easy. It's so much easier, I think, with the rats to be able to tell what's really a male and what's really a female, because you get some of those smaller mice that aren't fully mature yet, and some of them it's kind of hard to tell what's male and what's female, and getting those ratios right. But
yeah,
I like the rats.
Yeah, dude, rats are great. Rats are great. The problem is you end up with pet rats at the house too, right? So
yeah, I got attached to them pretty quickly. I was like, none of them are really mean or bitey or anything like that. They're all very curious, and they want nothing to do with me still. But seeing those little faces and stuff, I'm like, damn it.
Yeah, and one of the lines of rats I'm working with is one that I started working with when I was 8 years old, and it's just crazy thinking that like these rats were the beginning of my hobby and getting into this, and kind of the evolution over time to be able to get those back in my racks felt very good to be able to have that line and keep it going strong.
Are you doing anything for like water treatment at all?
Not currently. I haven't had too many issues with it. I have been thinking about running like a UV light inside of the buckets and kind of maybe alternating it between, not for any reason in particular, but just to try to just do something a little bit different.
Extra layer, yeah.
Yeah.
I've been doing. I need to get more of them actually, but I put like 2 or 3 inch copper couplings in the reservoirs with mine. That helps cull a lot of the keep a lot of the bacteria at bay, because those copper ions just absolutely obliterate, that slime you get on the inside after time.
Yeah, that's always fun, having to clean out the nipples when they get clogged.
Yeah,
I haven't had to deal with that, but that's just a childhood memory of having to suck on those things and get that slime ball in your mouth accidentally.
Yeah, I definitely wasn't doing that. I had that happen with one tub in particular on the rat rack not long after I got it, because I don't know that the lines had ever been changed by the time I got it, and they're pretty old racks. And there was just this jelly plug right where the nozzle met with the hose, and the rats had chewed the line because I didn't have a clip on it, so the actual line was exposed in the tub so they could reach it. And because it had clogged up, they just chewed the line and completely emptied that 5-gallon bucket into that tub.
Yep.
And I felt like all the rats were fine except for a couple of babies from a litter, but they were all like, they had pushed all the substrate to the back and made like a little island, and they were all just like hovered over it. And I completely replaced the line after that because I was like, this is gross. It's probably time if this thing's getting this clogged, and the other lines probably aren't that far behind. So I just replaced the whole thing, and now I'm paranoid and I'm checking stuff constantly. And I think I went ahead and replaced the other line on one of the other racks already just because it was just as old. And I said, it's probably got just as many problems as that one did. So
yeah. And that's the thing, every time you're going through, stick your finger on that nipple, make sure it's dripping. And if you ever see, your rat's looking a little ratty, you got a problem with your water, address it right away, and you'll be all right.
Yeah. How often are you cleaning everything? Are you just using Tractor Supply bedding type stuff? Anything in particular there?
Yeah, I'm doing the pine pellet down at the bottom with a pine flake on top of that, and I'm cleaning every 4 days or as needed. So trying to keep it very, very clean. But yeah.
I've been wanting to do the pine pellet on the bottom as the extra layer. Jake and I were doing, so there's that really fine stuff that's made for like horse stalls. So it's almost like that pellet that's like already expanded kind of deal.
Huh.
It's like
we put a layer of that at the bottom with the mice and stuff, and it did a tremendous job of
it's
sawdust. Yeah, more or less.
That's what but that's literally what it's sold as, is sawdust. Like it's bagged up sawdust. It lasts a really long time. It clumps really, really well. But now that you say that, like it's the pellets broken down already, like that makes perfect sense. But like whenever I bought it, because like when me and Smitty were doing these, when we're doing the mice together now, I wish I could, but I don't have time for it anymore, unfortunately.
You won't make time for me.
It's not that I won't. I really wish I could, especially now that you have the
come
rats.
hang out with me.
Smitty, I would hang out with you.
Our Sunday mornings together?
I do, and I loved those Sunday mornings, but now Sunday mornings, I get to sleep.
Well, that's good because I've switched to Saturdays now. So,
well, Saturdays are literally taken up of about 8 hours worth of cleaning. So that's about how my Saturdays go now. But
it's your story, and you're sticking to it, buddy.
It's not that I'm sticking to it. It's just a fact. Working 2 jobs and all these snakes takes a lot out of me. So I don't really have a choice at this point. Trust me, when I can cut down on my second job, you can bet I'm coming back. But no, that sawdust really did really, really well. It's like the piss and all that would kind of come through the pine,
filter through the shavings,
and it would absorb in the sawdust, and it worked really well. Like I really like the sawdust, and man, that stuff lasted a while because you didn't need a lot to go a long way, and it was good stuff.
Yeah, I really liked it. I never used it again as a kid. When I was working at the pet shop, we'd just go straight pine bedding, and that always seemed to work just fine. But again, having a full-time job currently on top of doing this, it does mitigate some of the time that I can rationally spend there. When we're working full steam, I'm getting out of there at 12 o'clock at night, then getting out to the shop and not getting home until 4 a.m, and then waking up and doing it again the next day, 8 o'clock the next day. So it's just, it's a lot. And I feel like that definitely does help.
Yeah. Anything you can cut down on for time purposes, man, is a help. I tell you, one of the biggest things that has helped me for time management on these, just dealing with snakes, obviously I don't deal with rodents. I have to buy everything now because I don't have time to be able to go help Smitty with rodent stuff, but right now I buy everything. But one of the biggest things that help me with time is buying like double, if not triple, like of my plastic water dishes, and I just wash them in my dishwasher, and I just go through everything and just take out the old one, throw it to the side, and replace it with a new one, and rock and roll. It's just,
Yeah, buying water bowls. I'm always constantly. Anytime I see them on sale, I'm at the grocery store walking by, and I use those little like cups you would use for a man. What's that? Like the dessert with like the crispy top on the top, the sugar. I don't know.
Yeah,
But like,
I know you're talking about.
yeah. So I use those little cups, and they work great, you know. And you can get them on sale for $1 each, you know.
Yeah.
And I'll stock up on those when I see them, and yeah, I have spare ones in there, and it's always a rotation. And the other ones get bleached and go outside for a little bit and then get put in the dishwasher.
I tell you, man, that's exactly what I do. Like everything in a rack, it's just a plastic tub. Anything bigger, I use a dog bowl and a big plastic tub to go inside of the dog bowl. And anything that just has a plastic tub, I empty the water dish, put a brand new one in there, fill it up. Throw the old one to the side, throw it in the dishwasher, and yeah, it's helped my cleaning tenfold, man. Like I don't have to worry about dirty water dishes. If something shits inside of a water dish, I can just throw it to the side, give them a brand new one. No worries about disinfecting, taking all that time to let disinfectant sit.
That reminds me, I gotta buy more Zip. I'm out.
Dude, I tell you, doing the method I do now, I go through way less cleaner. Like way less paper towels, way less cleaning products. Like it's...
Yeah, I have a wife that won't let me wash that stuff in the dishwasher, so...
Well, you need to tell her to get over it. It's a dishwasher.
Okay, you tell her that.
I will. I'll tell her the benefits of it. And be like,
sending your buddy into battle, man. You're setting him up for failure here. Leave him alone.
Signing himself up for failure.
I'm telling you, man. Like you put it in perspective. You say, "Hey, we'll get more time to hang out and cuddle and stuff."
I want to watch you jump on this grenade.
I'll do it.
That's a buddy that's willing to go to bat for you, man. That's I want to hang on to that one.
You're walking right into the lion's den, bro.
I will do it. I'm telling you, I used my dishwasher. It was more like hey, I'm going to do this now. And that was that. So I'll do it for you, buddy. I'll jump right into that lion's den.
Sweetheart, I didn't know he was going to say that. You're right. I'll never invite him over again. Don't worry. I can't believe it.
Jake more than she likes me.
He's never allowed back in the house. No, Katie loves me, so I got to keep that stable. Because
she tries to feed him all the time, and he's like, "No, I'm not hungry."
She really does. Every time I go over there, she offers me food, and I'm like, "Oh, I already ate." I need to stop eating dinner before I go over there for the podcast. Because
the one time you do that, we're not gonna have any for you.
I highly doubt that. I don't think there's been a single time I go over there. She's like, "Oh, you want something to eat? You want some food?" And I'm like, "Oh, I already ate." When in actuality, I just scarfed down like 2 Burger King sandwiches and on my way there. Like,
are you offering the rats and stuff any? You adding like fruits and vegetables at all or anything like that?
Yeah, we'll mix in carrots with there. I feed a lot of carrots, especially to the rodent or to the insects, and so we'll mix carrots in there with some fresh veggies. But one of the things if it's a real loaded tub and you start doing that, it'll give them the runs a little bit, and then you end up having them, crap all over their babies, right? So I do kind of limit some of that.
Yeah, I give mine go crazy over some sweet potato.
Oh yeah.
Cut up, like usually we have some sitting around the house that start sprouting roots, and we're like, okay, these need to go. So I'll take them and chop them up into small squares and stuff, and then the mice love them, the rats love them. African softers, I'm sure we'll love them. We just got some of those recently. Are you planning to jump into those at all?
I was looking at African softers, and I might, as if I get more interest in them. It did seem like a little bit more of a, that you have to start the colony together and run them like that, where I just wasn't necessarily interested in doing that. A route I kind of want to try, and I got to look up the logistics of it, but trying to do some native mouse species. Just try to do something different, cool. Especially when you're looking at, I can only imagine how small a pinky is for something like that. I think that might be very helpful for trying to get some of these smaller colubrids and different species to eat.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I have these. I got these soft furs from Casey. He brought them down last weekend, and I think one of them died in transit, and we named him Jimmy lovingly. And his buddies.
Mauled.
Oh my god, dude! There was 2 of them that were like fighting over the carcass. It was like it's just ridiculous.
That was disgusting,
like,
dude. Like,
these things are horrible already.
They were ripping that thing apart. It was bad. It was really bad.
Like, I go over there now to check on stuff, and I'm like, God, I hope it's not a bloodbath. I've had, I think, 2 die, but I think they were definitely older ones in the group, so it's kind of whatever.
Yeah.
I'm pretty much breeding them for Casey, so I don't really have any plans to really use them, at least currently, while I'm sort of getting things going with them. But he's like, yeah, like he had some, and they, were chewing out of the bins, and I'm like, swear to God, if I get these things and they start chewing out of these tubs, I'm gonna be pissed, because the mouse rack in particular uses these cat litter pans that you can't even find anymore. Like PetSmart discontinued them.
Oh, those are gonna be really thin, huh?
So I'm kind of no, I mean they're actually pretty thick, but I'm like, I have basically 2 sets of 8, because I have 2 racks of 4, and so if I get shorted one, then if I start losing tubs that I can't find again, like, it's going to be kind of a problem. So
you can probably find a replacement somewhere.
I'm monitoring them very closely, making sure they have plenty of things to eat on so they can not chew on the tub.
Yeah, then you're gonna get the one that decides it's going.
Yeah, I have started to, like, I get Cheerios, not Honey Nut, but just regular Cheerios. Everything loves those too, and so I'll take that box actually. And what I've done with the rats that are in the bigger concrete mixers, I'll take that empty box and just put it in there, and then that gives them something to kind of do. Like, they seem to really like to tear it apart, and then they'll make little like huts and cover out of it and stuff like that. So now that's something I've started doing, is even with the soft furs, I just took like a box and ripped it in half, and just put it in there, and they seem to enjoy kind of playing around in that. So
yeah.
Enrichment.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. And and that's, we end up sit there playing with the rats, and it's they're taken care of. It's not something that I look at just as a prey item, and that's all it is. It's got a little life that it's living too.
Yeah, man.
Got to make its time as nice with me as possible.
That's where I'm at with it, and that's Rob Stone. He said, love your feeders, and
you got to, man.
I do, man.
Yeah, I think over time of doing anything right, you get to the point where
it's kind of monotonous.
You just don't see it for what it is, and I think that's something that people have to stay cognizant of, that
they're food, but doesn't mean you can't care about them, just at least make their short time here as comfortable as possible.
Yeah,
considering the end result,
And that's just a simple respect, man. Even if I had stuff that everybody knows this. I've talked about it. Like, I had several animals that had, not several. I had a few animals that had nidovirus, and I kind of sped through my collection, and I made them as comfortable as possible, separated them, and I did what I could for them as long as I could, until they were showing signs that they were really bad, and I put them out of their misery at that point. And I feel like it's the same thing for feeders, man. Like, yes, they're just feeders, and I feel like there's too many people that look at them as just feeders, so they give them the minimal care as possible. But I like talking to people like you, Lewis, who actually really give a damn about what goes into them, and the life that they live for the period that we have them, even if it's literally for a day for some stuff, because we need red hot pinkies for really small animals. At least they're healthy, and the parents lived a long, happy, healthy life, and now it's time for them to hit the natural cycle of things.
It's the truth of the world, right? Stuff has to die so other stuff can live.
Exactly.
Do your best with it for the time that you have it.
Yeah, it's a respect thing, man. It's everything's got a life, and you have to respect that. Because we have the same thing. We're no different. We're no different from a mouse or a rat just because we live longer. Like it's, some people may laugh at that, but that's just the way I look at it. Things got a life.
Well, it's like for me too. It's knowing how smart rats are, and
they're very intelligent.
If I were a rat and I was in a tub with nothing to do with 3 of my buddies all day, I'd probably go crazy too. So
yeah.
Especially in the heat now that it's starting to warm up, it's like I have to get like a massive fan or something to kind of.
Well, that's one thing too, man. Is you got to keep your temperatures in control as it gets hotter, because it'll start to affect your male sperm, and your productivity is going to drop real quick.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, the shed sort of setup that I have them in, like the ceilings are really tall, so it doesn't get ungodly hot like it would in a smaller space. It's actually, for the most part, pretty tolerable in there.
Yeah. Yeah, that optimal temperature you're looking for is 72.
Oh, they're definitely not going to be getting that.
I was about to say, I don't know about that, but
can we settle for like can I interest you in a solid 82?
And I definitely get fluctuation in my shop for sure. We'll see. I just upgraded to a bigger building, so we'll see how this summer goes. But
yeah, the pictures of it look awesome, man.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I take a lot of pride in keeping it clean.
It's definitely hard to do, especially when you're dealing with shavings and stuff. I feel like the floor of the shed that mine are in is like it's just an entire layer of pine that's somehow ended up
dirt.
Pine and dirt. Yeah.
Just the dust. When we moved out of that last building we were in, I literally got a respirator and went in there with a leaf blower and opened up the bay doors, and just, I mean, you couldn't see in there at a certain point, and I'd only been in that shop for 8 months.
Yeah,
and it was like, holy crap.
It's like that now on cleaning days for me, man. Like by the time I'm done cleaning everything, like my nose is so runny and I'm like super snotty and just like I think it's mostly dust. I hope I'm not getting sensitized to the rodents too. I don't like break out or anything like that, but I definitely like get really snotty. It's pretty gross.
Dude, it got bad when me and you were working with mice. I would get there, no problems.
Oh, it's way worse now with the rats.
Dude, I have bad allergies as it is to like pollen and stuff. Like it's really bad, especially this year has been the worst I've pretty much ever had.
You put Pain Cheb in that shed, he would probably die.
Dude, he honestly likely would. He'd go into like a fucking asthma attack.
He's allergic to everything.
Everything.
I don't know how he's survived as long as he has.
Like he's allergic to just aspen shavings. Like just
like
aspen.
Every picture you see him with a snake, he's wearing a glove.
Yeah. That'd be difficult. Yeah, I was lucky enough. I kept Doobie at my house for 6 years in my spare bedroom, and it just got to the point when it's wall-to-wall tubs. I'm like, this shouldn't be in my house. I should really get these out. Like, this is ridiculous.
I didn't even have that much, and I got sensitized to them pretty bad. And I mean, there was at least twice where I'd clean out the the one like 50+ gallon tub that I had of them, and just the dust and like frass and stuff from that, dude. Like I could feel my throat closing up. Like got hard to breathe, like legitimately to where I had to take Benadryl or something and like sit down for a while just because it was bad, really rough. So after a while I was like, okay, I'm done with these. Like I'll buy them, I don't really have any. I got to a point where I didn't really have anything that ate them anymore anyways. So I was like, there's really no point in doing
you
this.
You got really bad with the dubia for a while there, man. I was glad when you kind of shut that off.
Yeah, it was scary, man.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I haven't experienced that, lucky enough. I'm very happy that I haven't.
Well, the oddest thing too is like, Wyman said, "Are you allergic to like shrimp and shellfish now?" Which I'm not, because I mean we eat shrimp and stuff here all the time. But he's like, normally there's kind of they go in tandem at that rate, but I don't know. It sucks because I'm really not allergic to anything except for seasonal allergies either. Like I'm not allergic, like deathly allergic to anything, but damn it, man, if that dubia dust doesn't put me on my ass, it's wild.
Yeah, and even with our dubias, we feed a low protein diet to try to limit the uric acid buildup that they get. you know, to help with, you know, avoiding gout and your reptiles and stuff like that. So, you know, I wonder how much of kind of a factor like that, where it's just, you know, I don't know if you're feeding like a commercial diet or something like that. I wonder if that played a factor in it or something.
I fed, I don't know that it necessarily be like a commercial diet, but definitely like a chow that had like bee pollen. And then when I had a lot of cresteds, any of the Pangea that wasn't eaten, you know, they'd get whatever's left of that, because that stuff was expensive and I didn't want it to go to waste. You know, vegetables, sort of the usual, a lot of oranges. Now I just have the mealworms and stuff that I deal with, and that's it as far as feeders go.
Yeah. I've been trying with mealworms for a while, and man, I struggle with mealworms. I don't understand it.
Well, apparently the secret is you just have to ignore their existence.
Dude,
great.
Do you still have that mealworm colony I gave you?
Yeah.
Dude.
There's not nearly as many in there as there was when I got it, because I'm
telling you,
get a lot of them, but it's still going strong, man. If I just ignore it and like leave it be, explodes.
Just put some food in there, and like that's all you got to do. Those things, like I'm not kidding you, dude. I left those things alone for
in a black closet.
I don't know how long. Like I put them in my closet, and I just like I thought there was a few like good breeder ones in there. And one day I opened that
colony I ever saw.
Dude, one day I opened it up. I didn't clean it. I hardly even fed them, to be honest. It sounds bad. But like I put the mealworm chow in there, so like they ate the bedding, and I pretty much just added to that over time. And I had, you know, I had a group of Chinese cave geckos, and that's what I was using them for. One day I opened that thing up and I kind of dug through there, and there were thousands of mealworms.
It's like a 15-quart tub.
I'm telling you, man, there were hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of mealworms. And I was like, what the fuck? Like this.
Why are you still alive?
This is ridiculous. Like I gave them the bedding that they could eat. You know, I bought good mealworm chow for them. That was bedding that they ate. But good God.
See, now what I do is I just take a bag of Cheerios, and I take a food processor, and I just grind it up real fine, so it's almost like a flour, and that's what I use.
They reproduced like crazy. And I literally bought like a couple tubs of the PetSmart mealworms. I just dumped them in there, and they reproduced like mad.
Cheerios were the secret.
I was gonna say, I guess I'm gonna have to go get a box of Cheerios and give it a go.
I didn't even use Cheerios.
I didn't even use Cheerios.
No,
I was using I used like wheat flour and wheat bran before, and I was like, there really can't be anything to this. So that's when I was like, let me grind up Cheerios real fine and just use that, and that works great. I just dump a new bag in after I've processed it every other month, every 2 months.
All I did was I bought the rainbow mealworm chow like in a bag. Like I just bought that and dumped it in there. Those things, like, dude, I'm telling you,
wheat bran.
When I probably had 1,000 mealworms in a 15-quart tub, I'm not shitting you. I had so many mealworms that I didn't even know what to do with. You know, and I left this is probably gonna sound bad. Again, I had a very small group of geckos, and I had way more mealworms than I could shake a stick at. But like I would leave the carcasses in there, and eventually of the roaches that would grow from the mealworms, I'll leave those in there, and they would eventually just disappear. Like I just left all those things in there, and they would eat them up. And
I think they'll definitely eat the pupae and stuff if they have nothing else to eat.
Had a new chow every couple weeks, and my God, if I didn't get more mealworms than I could ever imagine. Like, it was kind of ridiculous. I just gave Justin the whole time. I was like, do whatever you want with these.
The Ackies were happy.
Oh, yeah. There was a ton of mealworms. Never seen so many mealworms in my freaking life.
Well, I'll have to give it another go and hope the mealworm magic rubs off on me, because I need it.
Keep them in a dark closet, man.
I did have a hard time with superworms. I tried superworms for a while, and I could not find the sweet spot with those.
Yeah.
But I think you got to separate the pupa from those because they will definitely eat those before they like fully form into the darklings and stuff. And I don't know. There's just more superworms. I think take a lot longer, and then you can't just kind of let them go on their own like you can with mealworms.
Yeah, mealworms. Like, dude, I didn't do anything. Yeah. Absolutely nothing. Like, I added food. That was it. Like, and I would like dig up, and they always went to the corners. I would just dig up a corner and just
they still do that. It's weird.
I would just pick out the biggest ones that worked for the cave geckos, and that was it. Because there was like 100 something to pick from, and I just grabbed the biggest ones that worked for the geckos, and the other ones grew up. There was probably I think when I gave you the bin, there's probably 50 to 100 roaches in there that were just crawling around, just doing the damn thing. It was nuts, man.
Yep.
I've never bred anything as successfully. Yeah, I can't say it. As I did with mealworms. Those were just ridiculous. But
we're at the go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say it's kind of funny. You put all the effort in the world and then get nothing, and then not try it all and crush it.
That's just how it works.
Yes.
I tell you, I thought about just trying to get a bunch of groups of mealworms and just like mass producing them to sell, like just because of how easy and it took nothing. Like, granted, they probably like I could have supplemented more. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm not gonna bullshit and say I put a lot into all these mealworms. I definitely could have given them more like carrots and stuff, because they would be like embedded, like because I would throw like carrots and sweet potatoes in there, like they would like embed themselves into these carrots, but they would get nasty and shit real quick, and but my God, those things produced like mad. I bet you when I gave you that tub of mealworms, there was probably 1,000 mealworms from those things, dude. It was kind of crazy.
We're at the 220 mark. If people want to get in touch, as far as if they're in Texas, or if you're whenever you get the shipping stuff sort of sorted out, where can people follow what you're doing or get in touch?
Yeah, we do offer shipping for our insects. So if you're looking for anything from there, let us know. We ship all over. And you can check us out on littleshopofhorrors.com. It's LILS. shopofhorrors.com, and then we're on Facebook, Instagram, all under Lil's Shop of Horrors. And you hit me up on my personal Facebook. My name is Batohie. Happy to help you guys in any way, or just talk snakes.
Yeah, man. Awesome. I'm telling you, I'm gonna be in touch, man, because I buy a lot of feeders, and I'm all about the smaller guys and that actually put more work into their rodents. So as soon as you can ship, I'm going to be one of your boutique best customers. Feeders. I'm going to be one of your best customers. I can promise you that.
Well, we look forward to being able to support your collection and help you get where you want to get to, for sure.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. So I'll definitely be in touch.
This episode was brought to you by BlackBoxCages.com. Check them out, Facebook, Instagram. Use that code THN at checkout. Save some money. You need a rack, you need a cage. Get yourself something nice. You won't be disappointed.
You will not be disappointed.
Especially with these new rack features they're dropping.
I have an entire wall of BlackBox that isn't even the updated stuff. This is a couple years old stuff. The new stuff they're dropping.
They've done some massive changes that are very much worth looking into. I'm not going to tell you what they are, but if you go to blackboxcages.com and you just scroll down on the homepage, it says like new rack features. Yeah. Click that and check it out, or hop on the Facebook and Instagram. We've been doing posts about all the new features individually that kind of explain why they've done them and what their sort of purpose is. And you just give us a follow. Just check it out. And then hot sauce. You need it, but you need Venom hot sauce from Steve Sanctuary. It is delicious. Collect them all. It's like the Flintstones mugs from McDonald's back in the day. Get them all, every single one of them. Buy the whole set. You can buy them individually, but you can also just get the whole run.
That's the cool thing about that. That's the cool thing about those. You get them. It makes a cool little display in your snake room. Because let's face it, everybody who keeps snakes likes a little bit of wall art. And if you get these cool little hot sauce bottles, you can use them up. Even if you don't like hot sauce, you can get them. Make a cool little display.
And you're supporting a good dude doing good things.
Yeah. He's a first responder doing a lot of cool shit. And he also does a lot of outreach and a lot of shows and just a lot of education all
relocations
around. So.
He takes in stuff that people don't want, that gets, I don't know if it's something that he gets, like animal control calls him when people just abandon things or what, but he ends up with some pretty wacky stuff.
It seems like they do. It seems like he's kind of the go-to guy for when the fire department gets called for a random or anybody.
I think he got some boas and a retic recently.
Yeah, he gets a lot of random stuff, and
some of them come in pretty rough shape too. So it's neat to see sort of the progression because he obviously takes them and he gets them on the mend and gets them on the up and up, and seeing sort of the progression of how they showed up versus where he gets them after a couple weeks. It's pretty cool.
It shows the type of care that he provides for his animals. Like it really does. He's got some really roughed up animals that he's just completely turned around. So definitely look into that and everything he's doing. It's really incredible.
We will be back Monday night for Snakes and Stogies. Might have a pretty interesting guest lined up. Not gonna hint any hints because it's not set in stone yet. But if it does happen, it will be a very good episode, and I'm very excited about it. Other than that, I think we have corn stars next week. I need to talk to Chris. He has a hole in his schedule, so we'll see. I'll let you know, Jake.
Yeah, I'm good, man. Lewis, thank you so much for coming on, man. This has been an awesome, educational, packed episode. This was absolutely great. We'll definitely be in touch, and I hope a lot of people get in touch with you after this episode because you provide a lot of cool services, and I think it sounds like there's a lot of potential to come in the future. So
I appreciate it. Thank you very much for having me on, guys. It was great talking to you guys.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. We'll have to do a updated episode in the future and see how far you've come and go from there.
Sounds great. Anytime.
Appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.